Seated. Right. Hello and welcome to everybody. Good evening. I'd like to welcome you all to this evening's council meeting. I'd like to extend a special welcome to the public present in the council chamber. Before we begin proceedings, I'd like to take this opportunity to note the recent and passing of one of Hackney's longest serving councillors. Sorry, I don't know why my glasses are playing up. And the past civic mayor, Mr. Former Councillor Shudya Sheikh. Shudya, who I knew personally, was Hackney's first Muslim councillor, first elected to the council in 1974. He was the civic mayor of Hackney in 1990-91. We served many years on the council together, with his time on the council spanning the 5 decades and ending in 2010. Shudya devoted most of his life to Hackney and to making the borough a better place, and he helped many hundreds of residents in that time. We're joined in the chamber today by Shudya's 2 daughters and other family members. I know the mayor will want to say a few words in her statement about Shudya shortly, but in the meantime, I invite you to join me in 1 minute silence in his memory. Sorry, thank you. Sadly, we've experienced the death of another long-standing member of our community. Last month, the passing of James Cook, MBE. James was a former British and European super middleweight champion and the inspirational leader of the Pedro Club for over 2 decades. He changed the lives of many hundreds of young people in the borough, and we owe him a huge debt. This was well reflected in the vast numbers of attendees at both the funeral and the wake, which I can say that I attended on behalf of the council. I will continue to raise funds for the Pedro Club as one of my speaker's charities to support the club in building on James's remarkable legacy. Unfortunately, in recent weeks, we have also had the tragic death of Annabelle Rook from Marsus, and the passing of Nellie Louise Brown, who is one of the oldest living members of the Windrush generation. As we well know, the passing of the solicitor, poet and activist, mum and mentor to many in this chamber, and humanitarian Wendy Pettifer. We remember these wonderful Hackney stars very fondly and respectfully, and send our wholehearted condolences to their families and feel grateful for the impact on the lives of others. It is a reminder to how precious life is and how important it is to try and make a positive difference in the time that we have here. I know that the mayor plans to pay her own tributes to Shudya, James, Annabelle, Nellie, Louise and Wendy in her statement shortly. I'll now turn to agenda item 2. Agenda item 2, apologies for absence. Apologies for absence I've been received so far from councillors Ababayo, Ramble, Conway, Hayhurst, Narcross, Olazunki, Odumarum and Samara. I understand that Councillor Satamara will join online. I also received apologies for lateness from Councillor Adjournment. In order to capture further apologies in an orderly way, can I ask that all apologies are made for the group whip leaders? Councillor Adams, do you have any other apologies?
No, Madam Speaker, no.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Councillor Steinberger? No apologies. Okay. Are there any apologies from any other groups? Okay, thank you very much. Please can I also take this opportunity to remind members that who have not signed in, please do so. Please also sign out if you leave the meeting before its conclusion. This will assist in accurate recording attendance for this meeting and for health and safety purposes. Agenda item 3, speakers' announcements. Since the AGM in May, it has again been my privilege to attend many civic and community events. Highlights have included attending various Windrush events and also the London Pride, the Black Healthcare Awards at the London Park Plaza Hotel, in which Dr. Sandra Husbands, our Director of Public Health, was nominated for the Fenton Awards. We've also had Armed Forces Day last month, which was kindly headed up by the past Speaker of Council, Sheila Suso-Runge, in my absence, and the fundraising has begun for my charities, the Pedro Club, Hackney Marsh Partnership and Hackney Food Bank. The first charity event was a dinner held at Zulu Grill last night, which we had lots of plans for more charity events, and the dinner was a great success. I am keen on setting up an informal working group of members or anybody else that would like to help to support the Speaker's office in raising funds and also supporting the nominated charities. I'm also asking members or anybody else that has anything spare that they can donate for charity prizes. If you have anything, just let me know and I'll make arrangements to collect it, or you can leave it at the town hall for me. So, are there any declarations of interest relating to any items on the agenda? If so, could members please declare it now, indicating which item it relates to and the nature of the interest? That's Binny Lovett.
I work for an organisation that promotes citizen assemblies, and that might relate to the opposition-sponsored business that's on the agenda tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Item 5, minutes of the previous meeting. Can the minutes of the annual general meeting held on the 14th of May be agreed as a true record and accurate record of the proceedings? Thank you. Sorry, Councillor Steinberg, I thought you've got a matter of fact with you.
Yeah. Just on page 14. I think it's important because I thank the outgoing speaker. I thanked her on the basis of the type of councillor she is, and as we say in Yiddish, a Mensch, which, well, I said it then, and that she's a special councillor. I was referring to her as the councillor she was, and you put here that was speaking about her speakership, which I just thanked her, and I said that we couldn't, I really pity her that she was put in a deep end for a year. So that has to be rectified. Also, for some reason, sometimes you call me Councillor Steinberger, and sometimes you call me Steinberger. I've got no problem with that, but make up your mind.
Okay, perhaps governors can take that on board.
One more little thing. I thank Councillor Young and Sam Kirk. I think the wording should be much stronger because they've done an absolute amazing job, and I don't think it's shown enough. You know, most of the time I'm not thanking, but when something is being done good, I want it to be noted because it's important that officers know how hard they worked, and that means everybody. So that's important. Thank you.
Thank you. Has councillors got the changes? Thank you very much. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Okay. Before I ask Mayor Woodley to address the chamber, can I please ask that all of you who are participating in this item to be mindful of the new timings as part of the revised council procedure rules. Mayor Woodley, would you like to make your statement to the council? You have no more than 8 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would like to continue your theme of remembrance for remarkable members of our Hackney communities who we have lost in recent months, whose contributions to the borough were significant and whose absence is deeply felt. We were shocked and saddened by the tragic death of Annabel Rook. Annabel helped refugees and women fleeing domestic violence and was upheld as an absolute force for good. Through Mama Sue's, the charity she co-founded, she brought creativity, joy and healing to women who had fled violence and trafficking. And she went on to co-found the Amy's Project, which gave traumatized survivors a voice through the expressive arts of drama, art and writing. Tonight, we're bringing forward a motion on tackling violence against women and girls. It's a mission that Annabel dedicated her life to, and we must continue this vital work. And we do also mourn the loss of James Cook, MBE, who passed away in June. James was an absolute community champion who devoted his life to Hackney's young people. His work at the Pedro Youth Club turned it into a safe haven, a space where young people could grow in confidence and stay away from harm. His MBE, awarded in 2007 for services to youth justice, reflects his lasting impact on this borough. His legacy lives on in the lives of the countless young people he mentored, and thanks to council capital investment into the Pedro Club, into a space where they will continue to gather and grow. I also join you, Madam Speaker, in paying tribute to Shuja Sheikh and welcome his family members who are attending this evening. Hackney's first Muslim councillor, first elected in 1974. Over 32 years, he represented 4 different wards, served as civic mayor and demonstrated his unwavering commitment to justice by signing Hackney's anti-apartheid declaration in 1990. Shuja was instrumental in founding the Old Hackney Muslim Council, laying foundations for Muslim community life in our borough. But he was also a contributor to the Children and Young People Scrutiny Commission, and I remember meeting him there after he'd become a councillor. And it's so often that people continue their contribution to civic life. In June, we said goodbye to Nellie Louise Brown, who died at the incredible age of 111. Born in Jamaica in 1913, Nellie was one of the longest surviving members of the Windrush generation. And last week, we were absolutely honoured to host the launch of the office of the new Windrush Commissioner, Reverend Clive Foster, and to reflect on the enduring contributions of the Windrush generation and people like Nellie, who have helped shape the Hackney we know today. We paid testament to Nellie on Windrush Day on the 22nd of June, at a market day event we held in the town hall. And I didn't realise that Orleen Badu was a relative, and she kindly came to the stage and shared the joy of Nellie. And you realise that so often these big figures in our community are only one other big figure away from ourselves. So many people contribute to our borough. And finally, yes, we remember Wendy Pettifer, a fierce community champion, campaigner, solicitor, socialist and poet who fought tirelessly for the rights of migrants and refugees. Many of us knew her personally as an activist or through the network of Labour lawyers. She is a huge loss to the borough. I'm sure I speak for everyone in this chamber when I say my deepest condolences go out to the friends, families and communities mourning these losses. But I also want to share something of the work they've done in order to celebrate the lives of those who give so much to help others. They are examples to us all. Madam Speaker, when I think about the people who make Hackney, I think of those committed to community, dignity, justice and care. These are the same principles that shaped our manifesto and the resulting strategic plan. In line with these principles, I'm immensely proud of our extensive engagement with residents on the issues that matter most. Our communications and engagement team strive to ensure that residents' voices are right at the heart of our work. This commitment is clearly reflected in our latest resident survey, which shows that 73% of Hackney residents trust the council a great deal or a fair amount, a figure significantly ahead of the national benchmark of 53%. And we will do all we can to improve on this in future years. Hackney, like other councils, continues to face immense challenges. We are changing from a young borough to one with older people who deserve our respect and our care. More residents than ever are relying on our services, and we face intense financial pressure on our essential frontline staff, particularly in the areas of adult and children's social care and temporary accommodation. Despite this, year after year, we've continued to deliver on our ambitious manifesto to create a greener, healthier, fairer and safer borough, working for every child. Our strategic plan update, which I'll be sharing tonight, highlights our achievements over the last year. And working with officers on this over the last few months, I realised it was impossible to list everything we've done in one document. Last September, I identified 3 key priorities: tackling the housing crisis head-on, addressing the root causes of poverty and inequality, and leading the way in the fight against climate change. I will share the progress we've made in these areas and across the depth and breadth of our plan later on in the agenda. Our council staff, community partners, educators and health professionals go above and beyond every single day. I want to say a really special thank you to Jennifer Winter, who is moving on from Hackney Council this week. Jen first joined the council in 2005, so 20 years of service, and has so ably headed one of our most critical services as Assistant Director of the Benefits and Homeless Prevention, supporting some of our most vulnerable residents. She'll be a massive loss to the council, and we'll be following her progress in Tower Hamlets with great interest. I also want to thank Mark Agnew, who left the council after 17 years. Working first in the Mayor's office, then in governance services, Mark has helped steer members and officers alike through our duties and public meetings with calm professionalism. His institutional knowledge, his sense of public duty, and excellent style will be greatly missed. I wanted to end by acknowledging that our communities continue to be impacted not only by challenges at home, but atrocities abroad. Last month, I wrote to David Lammy calling for action on human rights abuses, including an arms embargo on the Israeli government, and urged for further sanctions to enable the council to divest from companies linked to Israel's military operations in Gaza and the West Bank. It was in part the application of sanctions that made it legally possible to divest from Russia in previous years, plus the fact, as I understand it, that we held a number of direct investments at that time. I recognise that a growing number of councils have committed to explore divestment, and although we are all constrained by our fiduciary duty, in other words, we cannot lawfully take action that would decrease the value of pension funds, we want to assure members that we're doing all we can to uphold ethical investment and stewardship. The UN's warning that Israel's warfare methods in Gaza may be consistent with genocide means the UK government must urge further action in securing the release of hostages, supporting the distribution of aid, call for an arms embargo, and, I believe, recognise the state of Palestine. Madam Speaker, Hackney is an incredible place, and it is my privilege to serve it. So many people have come to our borough to find sanctuary from different parts of the world and have made so many significant contributions. Others have come because they feel at home in a place that is ambitious, creative, exciting, and full of people who are committed to working together, to triumphing over adversity, and to celebrating successes. The challenges are real, but so is our determination. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Woodley. Would anyone from the Conservative group like to respond? You have no more than 3 minutes.
You don't have to tell me, I'm sure the 3 minutes will go quick. I'm just, first of all, okay. First of all, I would like to send my condolence to the Sheikh family. When I started off in my political career, I was very close to Shuja. Shuja was a speaker in Hackney, and he was very true in what he believed. When they had this Mark Trotter thing, he could not stay in the Labour Party, and he moved to the New Labour Party and became, I believe it was the deputy leader. And he was very, very powerful in what he'd done. He was basically busy with the whole Hackney. I remember coming, actually today when I came in to the Conservative Party room, I saw a tray of finished biscuits, which are still there from Shuja's times. that was Shuja's tray, and we decided we're going to keep it there as a memory to remember Shuja. Now, there's many other things. I remember Shuja had a book as big as this, where he had all his stuff in there, everything he was doing for Hackney. I remember at the time when he was still in the New Labour Party, there was a by-election in East Town. And Shuja said to me, Simke, I'm going for it. So I said, do you realize that you've got no chance? She says, there's no such thing as no chance. Everything you have to try. And he stood, and he actually had a very nice vote there. He didn't win, but he had a very nice vote. And he never gave up. In the end, he stood in Springfield. He was my councillor. And my second home, I spent, I can say probably in the Muslim community, it's the house I spent, not just I spent the most. After my house, I remember the cat, I remember your mother, and I remember his little car was driving around everywhere. And Shuja, when he finished being a councillor, he told me, Councillor Steinberger, I do not want to give up on local politics. So we found a way in for him, which was to sit and represent the Muslim community on scrutiny. And he'd done that for many years until when it was impossible to do that anymore. So he will be sadly missed, and he was a great asset to Hackney. And till recently, he walked around like a guy of 25 years old. So the energy that he had, and that was very, very strong. And he will be remembered hopefully by everybody. I just wanted to tap into a few things. Basically, I wanted to say on what the mayor mentioned is very interesting. She's busy with watching what Jennifer Winter's going to do in Tower Hamlet. She's busy about Israel. And you realize we got Hackney also to run. I think the problem is that you forget about Hackney. You've actually been elected to be mayor in Hackney, not in Tower Hamlets, not in Israel. So I believe you should concentrate on your plate, because the 25 million pounds that you're chucking in the dustbin and making yet more pollution, and then saying you're making it greener and things is a load of rubbish. So please spend our money sensibly and stop wasting our money.
Could I remind all members that are speaking to try and keep to their allotted time? We've all agreed these times, and it's for everybody's benefit that we keep to them. Council meetings are very long, and members of the public are here to listen, and we don't want to keep them here any longer than they need to be. So I invite Councillor Garbutt. Thank you, Councillor Garbutt.
I'd like to give the Green Group's condolences to all of the Hackney leaders and their fact that we've lost, and all their families and friends, and send our Green Group condolences to you for your loss. The Mayor, you mentioned working for every child, yet we've seen nursery fees hike costs of 69% for working families near an arbitrary line of 55,000 per household income. This includes couples on London living wage and forcing women out of work, while fees go down for much wealthier households benefiting from the national free hours rollout. So I hope the Mayor will listen to families and pause this poorly thought through changes. And turning to divestment, and recognising the letter that you sent to Lamy. So I know that people are devastated by the atrocities that they see. Our government is completely complicit in this genocide. Parts are so F-35 jets are dropping bombs on Palestinians made from parts built in the UK. 15% of every single jet includes parts from the UK. Writing a letter is a start, but that should have happened years ago, and we need much more urgent action to stop the aiding and abating of the genocide that's happening. Palestinians are being slaughtered and starved every single day. We've seen over 1,000 killed and accused for food hubs and air convoy routes, including children. We are arming a genocide and an apartheid. It's quite insulting to us who've worked really hard to get the council to even talk about divestment, to hear you say that you've written to the government asking for powers to divest, when we haven't even as a council committing to divest. We haven't had that debate here. We've been blocked on a number of occasions for bringing a motion. When a deputation was brought by someone who shared a deep deep story about their Palestinian family to the pension committee, it was met with a made script with no heart or soul, which didn't even acknowledge the council's ambition to divest. So I want you to recognise the deep pain of Hackney residents, and also the fact that a lot of the action that you're taking is because of the deep pain that residents are feeling. They camped outside for months to get you to take action. So it would be good to hear you recognise Hackney Palestine's solidarity campaign, the work they're doing on boycotting food items, and yeah, the camp that they had outside. And just on arms, we won't have a full council before the dicey arms fair that takes place in East London. It's a biannual horrendous fair that sells arms to dictators and human rights abusers. And I hope that you will join me and the Mayor of London in condemning the gross conference of misery, death and destruction, and that you will, that's so contrary to our inclusive values and an offence to our communities who've fled armed conflicts. Thank you.
Thank you for keeping to time, Councillor Garbutt. I now invite Councillor Rout from the Hackney Independent Socialist Group to respond.
Thank you, Madam
No more than
Speaker.
3 minutes.
Could I also offer condolences to all of those who've lost their loved ones? In particular, I'd like to single out Annabelle Rook and Nellie Brown, and just say that it's rather sad, isn't it, that Annabelle, who gave so much of her time to working for decent housing for immigrants, and Nellie, who was a member of the Windrush generation, looking at a situation now where we're still waiting for reparations for the Windrush generation to be completed. And the situation with immigration housing is frankly appalling and an embarrassment to the Labour government. I'd also really like to mention Wendy Pettifer, who was a personal friend, who we all loved and who we will really miss dearly. With regard to the Mayor's letter to David Lammy, we're not witnessing a conflict in any conventional sense there, but a mass murder, ethnic cleansing, and the utter devastation of civilian infrastructure. You rightly pointed out to David Lammy that the UN has said on several occasions this may be consistent with genocide. But you imply that you need a reset somehow from the national government before you can act on divestment on human rights grounds, and that is simply not the case. The 2014 Law Commission guidance makes clear that pension funds can divest on ethical grounds if two conditions are met. First, fund members must support divestment, and our pension fund members clearly do, as you point out in your letter. And second, that divestment shouldn't significantly negatively affect the performance of the fund. As the tide of public opinion is now utterly repulsed by the IDF's actions, there is a real danger that by not divesting from the Israeli arms machine, you have a negative impact on that fund. We recognise that there are bureaucratic delays and potential legal obstacles to divestment, but some 15 other councils and growing have made a commitment to pursue divestment in principle. So will you, Mayor Woodley, commit to divesting Hackney's pension fund from companies complicit in what you yourself have admitted may be genocide, or is your letter to David Lammy just empty words? Finally, could I, on the issue of the council's finances, you say that housing is a priority. I'm just wondering how you're going to manage that. In the financial year so far, we're only a quarter of the way through it. You're projecting an overspend of £10 million. The housing revenue account, which was overspent by 17 million last year, has been told it's got to save £1 million this year, and it has to implement tough improvements after the calamitous failings set out by the social housing regulator and the Ombudsman. Some of the targets in that housing improvement plan are already being missed. So in short, Mayor Woodley, are you living in cloud cuckoo land
So, right, your
to
3
think
minutes
that
are
you
up.
can achieve those savings and actually fulfill your promises on housing? Thank you.
You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. I was very moved by your contribution to condolences, Councillor Steinberger, especially when you talk about objects that remind us of people that we've lost. I know with my father and my grandparents, there are small objects around my home, really quite modest little things, but they bring those people back to me in a moment. And I guess it's the Madeleine effect, isn't it? But lovely to hear that you're in that home and that connection. Councillor Garbett, thank you also for sharing your condolences, and also Councillor Root. I know we all share that sort of investment in the people that work so hard what we do, and actually we try and live in their image to raise challenge, as you've all done tonight, but also to contribute on the ground. And I think, again, I would ask that we look at how we can bring cohesion and support amongst people, rather than, as it were, stirring the pot and flinging blame. You say I should have written something years ago. Well, I did. I wrote to the former Foreign Secretary, and I shared that letter with you at that time. I've engaged with many different groups across the borough, either going out with my deputy mayor, with individual councillors when it's their wards, or indeed with the chief executive, to understand how we can help. And that might be through understanding, that might be through creating new connections, it might be through taking up the challenge that they bring to me and taking it forward to ministers or to City Hall or to anyone that can help. I don't believe it is possible for us to divest in the way that you described, Councillor Root. I think we have to maintain our fiduciary duty, and we have also got a low carbon vehicle with exemplary stewardship. So I think there is a genuine question about how we do more, but I do believe that we have the will to do more, and we do want to take seriously the outcome of that member survey that we pressed for, to ensure that our holders within the pension fund feel reassured that we're doing the right thing by them. In terms of still waiting for reparations for the Windrush generation, I've got to say it was both uplifting but also deeply, upsetting to be in the room with the Commissioner. We had amazing testimonies, including from one of our own council officers, who I won't name in this room, but I'm happy to tell you more privately, who, through her testimony, the entire room was on their feet. But it was a real story of persistence against the odds to try and get the support that she and her mother were due. And I was convinced by the Commissioner that he was taking this very seriously. Just the fact that he spent a day hearing from really quite challenging advocates, people that were really saying what's going to happen and when. And the fact that our Minister also, Seema Malhotra, came to listen and to converse with him was a real indication that the Windrush Home Office scandal will be properly addressed. And you all spoke
Sorry to interrupt you, Mayor Woodley, but
that's 3 minutes. You all spoke of doing the work in Hackney. I do it every day, 12-hour days. I'm out in the community all the time, and I will continue to do that.
thank you very much. We now move on to say, to thank all those who have contributed. I'd like to thank the family of the late Shujah Sheikh, and to offer you our sincerest condolences. And it was lovely to see you and host you before this meeting in the parlour, and to get to talk to you about your late father and relative. You're welcome to leave or to stay for the rest of the meeting. I'm now going to move on to agenda item 7, which is questions from members of the public. So I just want to remind those responding that the amended council procedure allows for a total of 3 minutes for response to questions. The council's constitution implies a maximum of 30 minutes to public questions. Any questions that have not been asked at this time will have a written response and be recorded in the minutes. As this is custom, when I call your name, if you're present, please approach the podium to ask your question. A reminder that you should ask your question as it has been published. Anyone not present will receive a written response to their question. Once you've received your question, your response, you'll have an opportunity to ask a supplementary question. Any supplementary answer Questions must come out of your answer to the original question. You may not make a speech or a statement, and a reply to supplementary questions might take only up to 2 minutes. Thank you. Is Dylan Law here? Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. I said in a yes or no, does the mayor believe that she has sufficiently represented the viewpoints of young people during her term?
Is that the question?
Yep. Yes, but I want to do more. Throughout my time as mayor and also during this administrative term in my former role as cabinet lead for families, I've been committed to listening to young people and acting on what they've told me matters most. When young people told me they wanted more spaces to play and gather, we invested in parks, playgrounds, multi-use games areas, and ensured that spaces like venture playgrounds are shaped by the young people that use them. Through the work I've had the chance to do in increasing provision for children with special educational needs, I've also met with school councils and representative groups such as the Neurodiverse Pupils Council in depth. Through the You Said We Did approach, young people haven't just been consulted, they've been part of the change. We've also co-produced services that matter to young people, like Spotlight at Forest Road, a drop-in health hub, rated highly by those using it. My deputy mayor has joined me in engaging in the work of the Hackney Schools Group Board, who've engaged with young people on their sense of belonging. The amazing officers working across the local offer, participation and re-engagement services have also captured voices in innovative ways to support candour. For example, bringing in a manga artist to make portraits of young people, interviewed about their experiences, from the highlights of their home and educational lives through to the very deepest challenges. Hackney Youth Parliament has been at the heart of this work. They've shaped our thinking on mental health, school behaviour, criminal exploitation, violence against women and girls, and much more. They've sat in cabinet, challenged councillors and scrutiny panels, and made sure that young voices are not only heard, but embedded in policy. Nationally, our 2 UK Youth Parliament reps, Martha and Romeo, brought Hackney's voice to the House of Commons, contributing to debates on national campaigns for period dignity and votes at 16, a proposal that our Labour government is now committed to delivering. What better representation is there, Madam Speaker, than enabling young people to vote? Thank you.
Commentary?
I do. Despite what she says on the piece of paper, could I ask if she believes that the young people would agree if they were asked? If the young people were, would they agree if everyone was asked?
Yeah, I'll go out and meet them again myself. Like the people that I met to talk about Hackney Downs development, for example, in the play area there, we'll invite them back out to see what they think of the work we did and whether we did a good enough job. And if we didn't, we'll try harder.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being prompt. Is Rachel Maguire here? Would you like to come forward?
My question is to the Cabinet Member for Homelessness Prevention, Rough Sleeping and Temporary Accommodation. Can she please explain to me the support given to residents in our borough who are rough sleepers or temporary accommodation residents during this high change in temperatures while it peaks at 34 degrees?
Councillor SA, you're going to respond? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Rachel, for the question. Hackney Council, we recognize and understand the dangers to residents in terms of the extreme warm weather and high temperature. I mean, though this is not a statutory requirement, but the council is committed to keeping residents safe during hot weather, particularly those who are living on the streets, as they may be at higher risk of heat-related illnesses like heat exhaustion and heat stroke due to prolonged exposure. The council has in place a severe weather protocol. It is activated when temperatures either fall below freezing or are expected to rise above 25 degrees. And this is part of a pan-London approach which has been adopted by most London boroughs. In most instances, the protocols are activated when an alert is received from the UK Health Security Agency and the Met Office. Although the council will activate the protocol independently, when local conditions are considered a risk. So the protocol centers on ensuring that residents are provided with information on the health risk associated with extreme temperatures, the symptoms of heat exhaustion, and when to take preventative measures. So we produce leaflets, posters, we provide information. Colleagues in the room can testify to that. I send information out. We do this on social media. I mean, the importance, the advice stresses the importance of being properly hydrated and details where those without ready access to water can fill up a bottle of water for free at a water refill station. So they are located sites across the borough. And additionally, what we also do is with regards to various places that they can stay cool during the period. Example is Mind May Club and also our public libraries. So with regards to the outreach service should not be considered as an emergency service. While we encourage residents to support rough sleepers by reporting their location and description to StreetLink, it is important that if any resident is observed to be in distress, appropriate assistance is sought immediately from the NHS through 111 or 999. And with regards to residents in temporary accommodation, the challenges of hotter weather are broadly similar to just residents in settled accommodation, and residents are encouraged to follow general advice about keeping cool. Before I finish, Madam Speaker, I'd like to echo Mayor Woodley with regards to Jennifer Winter. Jennifer has been a strong and a committed assistant director. Everybody understands and knows that she's very hardworking and she will definitely be missed. I just needed to say that. Thank you, Rachel.
Hello, do you have a supplementary?
No follow-up questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, can I call the next speaker, which is Alana Henry?
Hi. I just want to acknowledge that Caroline mentioned Wendy Pettifer.
No, she can't be large on anything. She has to ask the question.
Yes, ask a question.
Oh, I was just thanking her for saying about Wendy.
No, it's a question. It's public questions.
Okay, thank you. So when I sent in my question, I sent in a bit of background evidence and explained that in July 23, a High Court judge.
Miss Henry, I set out.
So in that question, well, part of the question is why is there no online application form for housing registration on Hackney Council website?
Okay, I gather you're responding. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Thank you very much, Alana, for the question. I'm sure everybody understands that in 2020, we had a cyber attack, and it had a significant impact across Hackney IT system and existing housing register system. And what we are currently doing is we are grappling with this, and I mean, everybody also understands that we have a profound affordable housing crisis, a challenge that weighs heavily on our residents. So the reality is that more and more Hackney residents are finding themselves facing homelessness or the threat of it, or trapped in unsuitable living condition. However, I just wanted to give you the information that the number of available family-sized social properties as at last year that became available was only 336. We continue to make progress with regards to the software, developing the software. The benefit and homeless prevention is not at the moment, we are not in a position to include an online housing register application on the council website. We recognize the frustration residents feel being unable to do this directly through the website. What do we do? That does not mean residents cannot join the housing register. What we have done is to provide a short-term solution to resident housing need. I mean, what we have done is we ask residents who are interested in joining the register to call our customer service team on 0208 3562929. And the effective date for a resident joining the household register is the date they contact customer services. And when they contact customer services, they will take all the details, and provided they meet the eligibility and criteria. And contacting customer services allow residents the opportunity to discuss their housing situation and for appropriate advice to be given. While no resident will be excluded from making an application, they will also be directed to other areas of service best able to support and advise them on securing a suitable settled home within a reasonable timescale. Thank you.
Do you have a supplementary?
Yes, I do. Whilst I recognise what you're saying, the fact is that there still is no online application. And when I have many examples of people who have phoned the council, one of them has been waiting 3 years to get registered, and nobody has contacted her. Another client has been told they have to wait 15 weeks for an online application. Another one's been told they have to wait 6
Sorry,
months.
this is a question.
The law states that you must provide an application, and Hackney Council is breaking the law.
Let me assure everyone and all residents listening that there is no 3 years for any resident to, just hold on, let me finish. There is no reason for any resident to be asked to be on house, to wait before they can register. You might be talking in terms of having to bid, but in terms of register, what they will do when you contact the customer services, they will take your details in terms of your phone number, your name, your address, your email, and then they will send you an application form to fill. And where you need to supply additional evidences in terms of supporting evidences, you will be required to definitely supply that as well. But categorically, that is not what we do. If you have evidence, send it to my email. Thank you.
Thank you. This isn't going to be a debate between the two of you. I'm sure you can speak to Councillor SCS out of this meeting. Is Julie Fox present? Thank you.
Hello, hi. This is a question for the Cabinet Member for Climate Change, Environment and Transport. Wilton Estate Tenants and Residents Association seeks to install solar on our estate blocks. The council denied permission in 2017 for a viability study, and we have not had a response to our application for the council's residential solar power project of 2024 and 25. Why are actively engaged estates not being supported?
Hi, Gillian. Thank you very much for asking about this. We are really, really keen to include all estates across Hackney in the residential solar project. This, just to explain for others, this is a pilot scheme at the moment for where we're putting solar panels on the top of 27 council blocks in Hackney. It's just a pilot, so we're testing it out to see whether it works, and that solar energy is then providing electricity at a cheaper rate from the sun to council tenants and residents. So when we first looked at that scheme, we looked at 2,910 blocks, residential buildings across Hackney, and we then filtered the results from those to look at those which would be most viable for this kind of pilot phase of the scheme, which is a range of different types of block to test out really whether this would work. There are technical reasons why it was surprisingly complicated to do this, so we really wanted to be sure that the microgrid would work, that the systems for passing that energy down to individual flats would work as well. And we are at the moment just at the stage of the panels are up on the 27 blocks, and Emergent, who are our partner who are doing that work, are going out to residents to offer them the opportunity to sign up to Hackney Light and Power to get that cheaper energy. So once we looked at those nearly 3,000 buildings, we then filtered the results down by roof type, by size, by what else they had on their roofs already, maintenance constraints and so on. That was reduced down to 382 buildings to make further feasibility assessment. So unfortunately, at this stage, Wilton Estate wasn't one of the first 3 estates for those 27 blocks. But once we've worked out, once we're sure that this works, that the pilot scheme, is successful, that people sign up, that, the energy is flowing freely into their homes and is cheaper and is working, we will then go back to the feasibility studies, and our aim is to roll this out as wide as we possibly can. And I certainly hope that Wilton Estate will be one of those.
Thank you, Kathleen. Do you have a supplementary?
A small supplementary. Is there a timeline around this? I know that's asking.
I can't give you an exact time. So literally right now, the panels are on the roofs of those blocks on those 3 estates. Emergent are going out right now. They've just started going out to get residents to sign up. Once we've, once people are signed up, once they're receiving the electricity, and then we've had an opportunity to evaluate the results of that, we will then look at the next phase, which is, this is 1 megawatt of electricity. We've identified 15 megawatts in total for that sort of next phase of rollout, and then we will go back and do further feasibility studies. So once we've evaluated this pilot, we'll then be able to identify how long it will take us to get to the next stage and the one after that. So I can't give you, it will be this date and this year, but I can tell you that's the phasing.
Anything?
Thank you. Sally Hall?
Hello. My question's to the Mayor. Why are high polluting diesel vans being hired by Lime to distribute bikes to bays on a daily basis? Drivers are being hired on a payment by task basis only. In addition to the chaos, disturbance, cluttering, bike and mobile theft, the issues with Lime continue to increase and the contract needs redress.
I'm going to answer this because I'm responsible for the Lime bikes.
All of them.
All of them, everyone you've seen fallen over. So thank you for highlighting these issues. We are right now in the very final stages of procuring new contracts for either 1 or 2 Dockless e-bike companies. And so because of that, we're a bit constrained in what specifically we can tell you about any particular company and our contract with them. However, what I can tell you is that we've put some very stringent requirements into these new contracts that hire bike companies are signing up to. And I personally expect to see some very significant improvements to the Dockless hire bike companies operating in Hackney. So we're in this standstill period right now, but we're in a very strong position, I think, to drive up standards for Dockless cycle hire, and also to deliver a kind of step change in the resources, meaning money coming in available to the council to manage those hire companies. It's a very, very nice heckle. And to tackle the issues relating to those shared e-bikes. As soon as we're out of this standstill period with the contracting, we'll be putting out quite a lot of information about the changes that you can expect to see in the service because of the changes in the contracts that we've required. So specifically on the vans, we have a current contract with Lime where those vans are required to be electric vehicles. So the contractual requirement is that they're electric vehicles. So we've contacted Lime to raise your query, and I've also personally seen a van which I think is diesel as well. So I know that that is happening sometimes. Lime apologise if this is the case and commit to reaffirming the terms and conditions with their third-party contractors. And they also say, please, if we see a van that's delivering their bikes around the borough that we think is not an e-vehicle, can we please report it directly to them, which we can. They subcontract a lot of that work out, but that doesn't make any difference to the contractual terms. If they subcontract, the subcontractor is also tied to the same terms. So it's not good enough. It's absolutely not good enough. Just to say on the wider issues that you've raised, we have been doing a lot of work, and I think you will see this in the new contracts, around bikes being used without payment, bikes being dumped, inconsiderate cycling. And then I can see that my light's on amber, so I'm going to say there is quite a wide range of quite stringent requirements within the new contracts, and also the resources to really enforce those going forward. So I hope that you're going to see some improvements, and you're welcome to come back to me if you don't.
Supplementary.
Thank you. In light of all the chaos, I assume Lime is still in consideration for the contract. Could you not consider cancelling the contract with Lime and speaking with the Mayor of London about a pedal scheme, which is all the more sustainable, which could include access for young people as well?
So I can't tell you who's in the frame. So I can't tell you who applied. When we put out a tender, a number of different companies applied. Lime may or may not have been one of them, but currently what you're seeing now is them operating under their existing contract. So any enforcement is under the existing contract. There are moves across London to have a London-wide scheme. That's a conversation that we're having with London councils, but also with government and the GLA about imposing a London-wide regulatory regime, because at the moment it operates borough by borough. There is already, obviously, the Santander bikes, which are run by Transport for London. They're not Dockless, but it's the same kind of idea.
Thank you, Councillor Young. The next person is Diana Kasari. Sorry, I've pronounced your name wrong.
Good evening. My question is for the mayor. Oh, no, it's not for the mayor. It's for the guy sitting next to the mayor. In its manifesto, Hackney Labour promised to support participatory budgets to allow tenants and leaseholders to shape the future of their estates. And it also promised to capture the aspirations of residents in 5-year investment plans for council-owned estates over 250 homes. What has the council done to fulfill these pledges?
And I believe you're responding.
Yep, that's correct, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Diana. Thank you very much for your question. The 2022-26 manifesto commitment that you referred to for participatory estate-based budget making and 5-year investment plans on council-owned estates still remains on the table and are part of a comprehensive programme of work that is underway within housing services. The service is managing and delivering an improvement programme that is improving not just the quality of day-to-day services and everything that wraps around that, that will be provided to tenants and leaseholders, but this also includes introducing a local neighbourhood approach to providing housing services and a far closer working relationship with tenants and residents through tenant and resident associations. As part of this programme, the council is midway through a 2.5-year substantive stock condition survey that will see every council home in the borough surveyed to assess its condition. And that will provide the evidence-based starting point for estate plans to be shaped and designed. With this survey evidence, resident-led estate-based plans can be formed and capital identified and allocated. But to be clear, the estate plans will be led through the estate-based TRAs working with the council. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Supplementary.
I do, thanks to the Deputy Mayor. Beyond housing, in what areas is the council willing to employ participatory budgets?
Peter, I don't think it was, we heard it.
Sure. Beyond housing, in what areas is the council willing to employ participatory budgets?
Thank you, Dana. I fear I'm not really equipped to be able to respond to your very ambitious question there about council-wide participatory budget making. That would be other colleagues in the cabinet who run with the finance brief who's better placed. But if I may just bring it back, and I appreciate this isn't specifically answering the question that you've just tabled, but if I may bring it back to tenants and residents and estates of 250 homes or more, the participatory budget proposition is part of that capital programme. But what I will
Deputy
just
Mayor
sort
Nicholson.
of point out, just very briefly,
Perhaps Councillor Chapman can, or written response? Who asked the question?
I haven't.
I think Councillor Chapman might have the answers to participatory budgets. If not, we can provide a
I
written
was
answer.
just about to kind of embellish
Sorry.
Anna with participatory budget making and the spending of over £1.2 million worth of HRA, housing revenue account budgets.
The question that was asked, I'm told.
I was
Sorry.
trying to widen it out a little bit, Madam Speaker, but hey, I said, sorry, Deb, perhaps we could have a conversation outside of the council chamber.
If Councillor Chapman doesn't have an answer, we will provide you with a written answer. I said, if you don't, it's up to you. Do you have an answer? If there's an answer, please provide it. If not, we will
Thank you,
provide a
Madam
written
Speaker,
answer.
for the opportunity just to quickly address that question. Obviously, the council has a huge budget, lots of elements in it. I think the part of the answer to your question is we're a democratically elected organisation that make really plain what our priorities are right at the outset, and strive hard to deliver those in terms of the budget term. We have a consultation process which we take very seriously in setting their budget, but we're always willing to look at other ways of consulting with the community and ensuring that all voices are heard. So thank you for your question.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all members of the public. That's the end of public question time. You can stay and go into the public gallery, or you can leave. It's entirely up to you. Thank you very much. We now move on to agenda item 8, which we have 5 minutes for, which is members' allowances. Members, before you a report from the Chief Executive which sets out the members' allowance scheme for 25-26. I understand that Councillor Vinnie Lubbock and Councillor Turbot Deloff wish to speak to this item. Please indicate if there are any other members who wish to speak to it, and I will call you in turn. We have 5 minutes. Councillor Vinnie Lubbock.
Thank you very much. As Greens, we believe that it's very important to improve accessibility to elected office, and that councillors should be properly remunerated for their time and efforts. And while we're pleased with the £80,000 worth of savings by not going through with the uplift previously passed by this council, we still do not feel comfortable voting for a rise in members' allowances during this chronic cost of living crisis. We're especially worried about how this will sit with residents while the Labour government is voting through cuts to personal independent payments for disabled people and floating the idea of cuts to SEND children, and also for councillors to get increased allowances while they're also overseeing restructures and transformations which might see officers' roles put at risk. So we are planning to abstain from this item. Thank you.
Councillor Turbot Deloff.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. We do share the concerns that our Green comrades have just shared now. We also abstain on this item. We do want to share something else as well, and is that the the current rates or the current remuneration really does also deter younger people from entering into public life because it doesn't reflect and it doesn't support the ongoing economic crisis that we are experiencing, and also the rising demands in rents, of course, housing. So we do hope that future administrations do think and improve the rates that elected members could have when they're doing when they come into public life. So then that also brings a broader future councillors to the chamber. Thank you.
Being prompt, Councillor Steinberger.
Yes, Madam Speaker, I quite see the opposite here of what the Greens have been saying. I actually see a reduction of the Conservative leader's wage to probably about half. Now, I'm sick and tired of on the agenda seeing independent, because there's no other London borough who uses this. And I keep on going on and on about it. And clearly there's some kind, it's nothing to do with independent. It's got to do, if you sit here on this side, we'll make sure that you work hard like I don't know what, and we'll decide. Now, if you go and have a look on page 29, I can't understand if it's got to do with group leaders, why is the mayor also not bundled in there? Why is it opposition group leaders and nothing to do with the mayor? It makes no sense. It's not done anywhere, only here in Hackney. I keep on mentioning this every year, it's the same thing. And there's never any normal answer. But it doesn't make sense. We're now in 2025, and the leader who's been getting in 2012 a wage of £35,000 is now actually getting a wage of 20-something thousand pounds. It clearly stinks of something, but it's the normal. I see this the whole time where we say we're using independent people. I wouldn't even think that this independent guys have even seen this report. So I would really think it's time to make a new review and go through it properly and copy London boroughs and not just do our own agenda for everything. So we'll be actually voting against this whole shenanigan.
Is there anybody else what's coming? Councillor.
Thank you. It was noted that, while we had ambitions to move towards the London Council's recommended increase and a more substantial review of the scheme, that it was just not feasible given the fact that the council's just set a budget with 10 million use of reserves in, and the financial position continues. We do want to look at the equity of this scheme in the longer term, but now is not the appropriate time to do that. I think the recommendation as recommended to set out basically accords with a long-established principle that we basically mirror the increases given to staff, and that's exactly what we're doing here, and that's what we're recommending to council.
Right, thank you. Since no members have indicated, do members agree to adopt the members' allowance scheme for 25-26 as attached in Appendix 1? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Councillor Sternberger. It's been noticed. Okay, agenda item 9, which we have 7 minutes for, is the Youth Justice Strategic Partnership Plan. Members are to note that this report is contained within the supplementary agenda, which you all should have had. I invite the Cabinet Member for Community Safety and Regulatory Services to introduce the report. You have up to 3 minutes, following which members may debate the contents of this report. I note that I received notification from Councillor Davies, Councillor Premier and Councillor Suso-Ronge who wish to speak in this item. Anybody else who wishes to speak or comment, once those who I've just read out have spoken, please raise your hand and I'll add you to the list if there is time.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Our report before us this evening, as you said, is the Hackney Youth Justice Strategic Partnership Plan 2025 to 2028. The Youth Justice Board of England and Wales stipulate a requirement for the annual 3-year plan to be signed off at full council, which is why this report is before us this evening. In our duty as a local authority, we have consulted with partners, agencies that are meant to be consulted in developing this strategic plan. And those partners include the police, probation, education, health, children, social care, community safety, housing, port, voluntary and community sector, as well as feedback from staff, young people, and their parents. So it is from the Safer Young Hackney Partnership Board, we've adopted this approach in developing this. And I can confirm that in developing this strategy, we came together in a facilitated workshop to consider our local performance data, the outcome we achieve for children, the challenges we are currently facing, feedback from children and families that are involved in youth justice, and before we develop this. Primarily, the aim of the youth justice is to prevent offending and reoffending by children and young people. And I can say in Hackney, we have adopted the child first. It's about safeguarding. It's about making sure the first thing we do is not criminalizing our young people. It's about making sure our young people are diverted into supporting them when any criminality happen or any issues happen. Having said that, there will be situations where the police might not agree with us in terms of that, or the victims of the crime. So basically, that is the youth justice plan before you, and I hope members can sign this off as our grant to running the service is depending on this. We need to submit this to the Youth Justice Board of England and Wales. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Councillor Davis.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to start by recognising some of the real strengths in the plan and feedback, particularly around the dedication of frontline staff. I do have concerns about the process that got us to this plan. However, the full word rightly says we need a system-wide approach to youth justice. But in practice, the strategy seems to have been developed primarily alongside the Safer Young Hackney Partnership Board, which, while important, only represents a part of the wider system. The plan references some feedback from young people, families and staff, as you say, but not meaningful co-production or real engagement with grassroots youth groups who aren't already tied into formal structures like the board or Young Hackney under the VCS umbrella, and that is a gap. We read that the council expects to develop a participation approach, which sounds good, but it's not in a place yet. So can we honestly say that this plan reflects a system-wide approach if we've excluded many of those closest to the issues, especially so many organisations who are also reaching out to young people before they're even in the system? This includes children excluded from school, obviously, insecure housing, risk of exploitation, and some often also unknown to our services, but well known perhaps to grassroots groups. Many Black and global majority-led organisations have directly told me that they feel shut out of strategic conversations at London Borough of Hackney, are blocked by bureaucratic barriers to funding and engagement. And that leads me to one of the most glaring omissions, I think, in this plan, which is SEND. It's mentioned just 3 times in the entire 56 pages, and nowhere is there serious consideration of how this intersects with race, exclusion, and injustice. The board itself that we are talking about from England and Wales have made very clear in 2022 in its review that SEND needs are widespread across this cohort and youth justice. Black and global majority children are disproportionately underdiagnosed, misdiagnosed, or diagnosed too late. And in Hackney, we have over 3,000 children with EHCPs and many more who have unmet or unrecognised needs still. So why is this not a strategic priority specifically outlined in the plan at all? While I welcome the overwhelmingly positive feedback of frontline staff in the later sections, constructive criticism is also pretty absent. That raises a question.
Are we building a culture that truly welcomes honesty and challenge in this space, or are we at risk of falling into what the Housing Ombudsman called a positivity prison elsewhere? If we're serious about a system-wide approach, then SEND, racial justice, and grassroots engagement cannot be left as afterthoughts or called too complicated to do now. They have to be central and in there from the start. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And just to emphasise what Councillor Davis said about inclusivity, that really needs to be mapped who is actually involved, and if we could publish a map of organisations involved so it's clear who is and who isn't at the table, and to reiterate the fact about SEND children, the Youth Justice Board data that 71% of centres children 2019 to 20 had speech language or communications needs, so this needs to be relooked at. Thank you very much.
Councillor Sousa-Wong.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is an excellent and very comprehensive plan, and one of its strengths is that it rightly addresses the intersection of race and social economic inequality. It addresses phase-in interventions that must be balanced by acknowledging socioeconomic inequality and racial injustice. This is justice reimagined in the plan by accepting and providing a whole system approach, the importance of a child-first policy, and a rights-based approach. This plan ensures that there can be no disapplication of children's human rights. I would ask all members to make time and to read this plan to the very last line. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for that. Can we agree the recommendations are set out in the report? Thank you very much. Agenda item 10, appointments to committees. Can members agree the recommendations? Thank you. Agenda item 11. Sorry? No, not that. I'm moving it. Sorry. Sorry. Agenda item 11. Questions from members of the council. We have 30 minutes for this. If you're all prompt to keep to your time, everyone should get their questions answered. Okay, thank you. The first question is from Councillor Adebayo, who's not here present, and I gather that Councillor Baffour is going to ask the question on her behalf. Councillor Baffour? Thank you very much. Councillor Chapman, can you answer, please?
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Adebayo, for your important question. Madam Speaker, protecting the vulnerable is at the heart of what we stand for as a Labour Council. In direct answer to Councillor Adebayo's question, we set out what is called Here to Help in November 22 as a response to the impact of the cost of living crisis on our residents. Here to Help is a easily accessible multidisciplinary service that brings together benefit assessment support with an assessment for a range of discretionary grants managed by the council. It has a data-led active outreach approach at the heart of its services, and that is quite important because that I think that insight we get through that data has been one of the things that help us target campaigns and get quite the results that we have there. The core goal of Here to Help is tackling benefits underclaiming in the borough. Since its inception, Here to Help has supported 2,823 people with benefits uptake, totalling some 4.79 million in increased incomes to some of Hackney's most vulnerable households. Income maximisation cases represents 12% of total applications. Of all the residents receiving benefits uptake help, 60% were offered support as a result of targeted campaigns on specific cohorts. This includes our hugely successful telethons, which result in over 1,500 residents receiving previously unclaimed benefits, and also more recently a joint campaign with Policy and Practice and members of the voluntary community sector, which is a very important relationship. Saw 40 residents awarded a total of 163,000 in attendance allowance. The next data-led campaign, beginning almost imminently, will focus on temporary accommodation residents who are eligible for, but may not be claiming. Residents will receive a text message plus a follow-up phone call to check their situation and offers of help to apply where appropriate. We hope to help around 80 people take up personal independence and other associated benefits across this campaign. Thank you.
Councillor Bafford, do you have a supplementary? No, thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Can we move on? That's been elaborate.
Thank you very much. I was just wondering if you had exact statistics on how many residents you've helped to apply for the pension credit specifically. Do you know what number that is out of the 2,000 plus?
Please.
Madam Speaker, Council Procedural 10.11 provides that the councillor asking a question may ask a supplementary. If the councillor asking the question does not wish to do so, another councillor may ask the supplementary question if the speaker agrees. There is only one supplementary permitted, and it must arise directly from the original question or reply and must not be a speech or statement.
Thank you very much. Councillor Turbot-Delors. Do you want to reply? Sorry, Councillor Chapman.
I was just going to say, I do know that 195 residents were awarded a total of 1.2 million in pension credits arising from the telethons. I don't know, there will be others on top of that, but we can probably, I'll provide that information separately.
Councillor Chapman. Councillor Turbot-Delors.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Hackney's council-run community centres are underused, costly, and often inaccessible. In my ward, a youth club now pays to use its community hall. What percentage of council-run centres are in regular and accessible community use for Hackney residents? Thank you.
Kennedy. Oh, Councillor Walker, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you for your question, Councillor Turbot-Delors. You raise an important issue about the critical role that our community halls play in our neighbourhoods and especially on our council estates. Madam Speaker, these are and should be the hubs of social connection, providing spaces to address health and well-being, and also physical assets that our local communities can depend upon to meet for activities, gatherings, and celebrations. The council currently has 75 community halls located across its housing estates. These are a mixed portfolio of spaces directly managed by the council, TRAs, and other community stakeholders. 42 are directly managed by the council, 27 by TRAs, 3 by TMOs, and 3 by other community stakeholders. As of this month, 31 of the 42 council-managed halls are in regular use, with bookings taking place between 2 and 7 days a week. 35 out of the 42 meet minimum accessible standards, including step-free access and accessibility toilets. And in addition to that, public bookings, a number of halls are also used for housing-related services, polling and community engagement activities. The council recognises that regular use does not always equate to inclusive or equitable access, which is why we are committed to addressing this. I'm very conscious that despite the recognition of the value of these spaces for residents, there is a lot of work to do to ensure that all of our 75 halls are working for our residents. But we have the ambition and we have the vision to do this. A part of this work would include reviewing the types of users and activities taking place in the halls, reassessing the current charging model to ensure it supports community organisations, and improving the governance and the oversight of these halls. You mentioned in your question the youth club in your ward, which I know, Councillor, that you have written to the Mayor on this issue. While time doesn't permit me to go into details on this, I raise this because work is underway to pilot new models of locally managed halls to provide affordable and accessible access to local people. The Council's Space Bank project is providing this in new ways for working, which is taking on a more strategic approach to the use of community assets, building relationships and knowledge of community needs with the Council and the wider VCS, and how we're identifying opportunities, convening partnerships and making connections across the system. There are already great examples of this partnership model working with the Mary Lloyd Centre in London Fields and also the old fire station in Stoke Newington. In conclusion, yes, we want to increase accessibility and use of our community halls. Yes, we want to make them more affordable. And yes, we want to build effective partnerships with residents and community partners to ensure that these assets are open to all. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have a supplementary?
Yes, Madam Speaker. Councillor Walker, thank you. I really appreciate you acknowledging the needs for improvement. It really is appreciated, and I think that's the way to move forward. My question now is, how else can residents be part of all of those improvements so then that they can bring the real life experience or lived experiences on the issues with booking and everything that they experience as barriers to accessing those spaces? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. And yes, we are absolutely committed to kind of looking at how we use our community halls and really use the process of co-production, working with our tenants, with our leaseholders and community stakeholders that want to use these spaces. I can give you an example in my own ward on one of the estates where we are working with the TRA to look at how we better use the community hall, how we make it more accessible to local communities, and looking at the broad range of services that these spaces can provide. So we're absolutely committed to this. We really want this to be co-production. We want to be open and accountable to what we do and to ensure that we really make it accessible to all communities.
Thank you. Can I remind members that you are meant to stand when you ask a question? Obviously, if you have a medical problem or disability that you can't stand, then I'll accept that, but it's part of the standing orders. The next question I have is from Councillor Michael Desmond to the Cabinet Member for Employment, Human Resources and Equality.
This is a long distance call to Councillor Williams. As set out,
thank you, Councillor Desmond. I'm acutely aware that Councillor Desmond knows that B6 has merged with New City College. They did so on the 1st of August 2024. This decision was made by the college recognising that the current position was unsustainable due to its wide range of courses on offer, continuing fall in student recruitment and the number dropping out of those already enrolled. As part of New City College, the campus is now Hackney Sixth Form College for the new September 25 intake. The college has struggled to overcome significant challenges, which in turn has restricted young people's ability to achieve their goals and pursue their desired paths. With providers facing financial pressures, shifting demographics and changes in student ambitions, I've been informed that the leaders of the college have adopted an approach that will offer a blend of academic, vocational and technical qualifications. They have also, or they will also introduce new courses that provide young people with appropriate progression routes. The New City College and Hackney Sixth Form College are taking preemptive measures to provide high quality education in Hackney. NCC found achievement rates at B6 were poor at the point of merger. Outcomes data for 24 show that B6 is the lowest performer among all New City College group campuses for both 16 to 18 and 19 plus cohorts. Achievement rates have since improved. Hackney Sixth Form leaders have acknowledged the strengths inherited from the merger. It's also pinpointed areas where the quality and student achievements are inconsistent. Senior managers are taking an evidence-informed and consultative approach to make adjustments and ensure staff have a say. The curriculum is being reviewed in areas where students have too high a chance of not achieving their qualifications. This activity is also taking place at our schools-based sixth forms. Regardless of the consultation or review outcomes, no student will be asked to leave the course midway. Hackney Council is taking the following action, Madam Speaker. The Council is maintaining good contact with New City College and has been informed about their curriculum review, which, as I said, has found that A-level achievement does not reach expectations. Hackney is developing a 14 to 19-year-old strategy. Our maintained schools, academies, NCC, independent providers such as ELAT, and employers are partners in this endeavour, and we're waiting a final report on the curriculum review and updates on the skills agenda from the Department for Education, which is expected this autumn. Secondary schools, I've just got 2 more points on actions that we're taking. Secondary schools are grappling with the same issue, which are considering whether or not to deliver academic, vocational, technical qualifications and remain viable. The Director of Education and Inclusion was invited to give a statement last night at the CYP meeting. He gave an update on the number of unfilled A-level places in the borough post and post-16 capacity. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Councillor Desmond, do you have a supplementary?
I certainly do. Thanks for that, Councillor Williams. I met with the new principal. And 2 colleagues. I was on the governing board of B6 for 20 years. I was shocked that they seemed to want to airbrush it from history, and they treat B6 with a degree of disdain verging on contempt. I was really appalled that they didn't value the success we had in giving added value to people who hadn't always had academic success, but many of whom went on to go to Russell Group universities and Oxbridge.
Councillor Desmond,
My question is...
Councillor Desmond.
Yes?
This isn't a supplementary question.
I'm coming to a question here, the final paragraph.
No, you need to ask a question. I'm trying to be fair to
I
everybody.
will ask the question. They have agreed not to increase early entry requirements. Would you not agree that the September intake should have the opportunity to take A-levels?
Okay, thank you. Councillor Williams.
Madam Speaker, we are doing what is within our purview as a council to support New City College and Hackney Sixth Form College, and we'll certainly take your question to the college and the principals of both New City and Hackney Community College. I do want to say though, Madam Speaker, Councillor Bramble and myself, it crosses both of our portfolios, and we've been assured by Hackney Sixth Form that they are committed to providing highest quality education for our local communities, and we will work with them to this endeavour.
Very much. Councillor Garbett to the Mayor.
In your manifesto in 2023, you said you would lobby the government for rent controls. Can you describe how you have done this since getting elected as Mayor? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Garbett. Yes, I did commit in my 2023 manifesto to lobby for rent controls, and I've followed through on that commitment since being elected. Through the Council's Fairer Renting campaign, previously known as Better Deal for Renters, we've made the case loud and clear. Private renters need a better deal, including fairer rents and improved housing quality. A key part of that has been calling for more powers for councils like Hackney to control rents, specifically for rent increases to be tied to inflation and real income changes. This position is not just political, it's strategic. Our private sector housing strategy and housing strategy both reinforce our commitment to rent controls as part of broader affordability reform. Since taking office, I've worked with other London boroughs and City Hall to push for local powers on rent setting. I've backed efforts from the Mayor of London to create a rent control framework tailored to local needs. At the same time, we strengthened local enforcement, are consulting on expanded landlord licensing, and provided support to renters facing unsafe or unfair conditions, because we know change needs to happen now, not just in the future. Through London councils, a cross-party group of council leaders, I have since my election continued to push for local housing allowance to be uprated annually so that more of the private rented sector is affordable to Hackney residents. After Tory austerity, that has proved to be a welcome step in the first year of our Labour government. The Renters' Rights Bill, which Councillor Moema and I have long campaigned for, has made its passage through the House of Lords. I'm pleased to see provisions to limit rent increases to once a year, with an all-important legal right to challenge held by the tenant if they feel the increase is unfair. Coupled with a ban on Section 21 no-fault evictions and an end to rent auctions, that horrific rent bidding, this is a welcome step in the right direction for private tenants in Hackney and across the country. Labour's national manifesto includes reform of the private rented sector, and I will continue pressing for the devolution of rent-setting powers to councils so we can act on affordability, not just talk about it. Rent controls are about fairness, stability and dignity, and this Labour Council will keep fighting for Hackney renters to get exactly that.
Councillor Garbutt, do you have a supplementary?
My supplementary is actually to Councillor Nicholson. I wanted to just that you received last week from Acorn regarding the Fellows Court residents who have suffered considerable disrepair and challenges over the past 3 years, disrupted access to the hot water, heating,
Ask the question
flooding.
to the mayor.
Well, you let Councillor Chapman ask the supplementary earlier.
No, because it was a different matter. It was a split question.
Okay.
So you asked a question to the mayor, so you
about rent and renters and renters' rights, and then my follow-up was going to be.
So
Okay,
you
my
need to
follow-up is
ask a
for the mayor.
follow-up to the
Okay,
mayor.
okay, I'll ask a follow-up to the mayor. Can you ensure that your deputy mayor responds to the Fellows Court residents who are suffering in their block of flats and commit to meeting with them, please?
If I could, thank you. If I could just get some clarification through you and the monitoring officer. The tabled question is about the private rented sector. The supplementary, should that not therefore be about the private rented sector and not about a whole different department of the council, which is to a whole different person?
If I may, Madam
Yes,
Speaker.
of course.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As I said earlier, the supplementary questions must arise directly from the original question or the answer that has been given. And it may not be a speech or a statement or, in effect, a new question that doesn't relate to the original question or the reply. That is what the rules provide for. In my opinion, the question is out of order as it relates to a different topic. It isn't your matter. And it is a matter for you to decide whether or not you're prepared to accept the supplementary question, and then whether or not you are prepared to ask the mayor to respond to it.
There are private renters there. But
the supplementary is to the question. If you've got a supplementary question to the answer the mayor gave you, I will allow you to answer it.
So the question was about renters. So the supplementary.
Sorry, no, I'm not
response was
debating
about
this.
renters.
Councillor Garbutt, you either ask a supplementary to the mayor on her response, or you don't have a supplementary. As simple as that. So if you've got a supplementary to the mayor on her answer, yes or no?
Yes.
Right, then answer. Councillor Steinberger, is it?
I find it shocking sitting and listening to this. We have residents of fellow court who got no water with, and we're jumping around if this is a supplementary or not. Would you want to live like them? I don't understand this.
So I'm not sure it's your question. Okay. Councillor Garbutt, please continue. Well, I'm sorry you don't understand it, but that's for you. Councillor Garbutt. Councillor Steinberger, thank you.
So yeah, in relation to renters and supporting renters, as you described in your response, I wondered how you're supporting the renters at Fellows Court and if your deputy mayor will meet with Fellows Court renters and tenants.
It's not a question, a supplementary to what the mayor responded, Councillor Garbutt. So I'm not going to ask the mayor to respond. Thank you. And it's quite clear. So I've next got Councillor Ross. Councillor Ross.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm delighted that St Mary's Secret Garden in Haggerston, a valuable community asset, has reopened after sudden closure last year. What steps is the council taking to ensure the garden remains open for residents and its dedicated volunteers to enjoy in the long term?
Thank you, Councillor Ross, for your question. I'm pleased that you've asked this question because despite the sad closure of St Mary's Garden last year, I'm delighted that the council was able to step in, working with Haggerston councillors, residents, volunteers, and our community partners to reopen the garden and put the place back in action to secure its long-term future. We are working with one of our long-term trusted BCS partners, Hackney City Farm, who stepped in to look after the space, and we are really grateful to all the community support and ongoing efforts by volunteers to maintain this wonderful garden for our residents. This is about a relationship of trust that the council has created with our BCS partners. This is demonstrated through the interim arrangements that we've been able to put in place quickly by working with Hackney City Farm. Hackney City Farm already has strong ties to the garden and relationships with the local community, which is why they are the right partner to take this interim plan forward for the garden. And we've embarked on a lease for 2 years in order to ensure that the site remains open during this period and that a proper consideration can be given to its future use, which includes remaining within community ownership and stewardship. In the meantime, volunteer garden sessions will continue at the garden, and the farm will ensure that this is an inclusive space by working with groups from Hackney's diverse communities. They have plans to look at revenue streams based on the farm's own social enterprise model and explore the potential of full-time licenses on the site, which would not only create income, but also add to the site security going forward. The farm will also look at the Changing Places facility to ensure that when the garden is open, it continues to be accessible to all of our residents. It's important to recognise that as a council, when projects or organisations using council assets are no longer financially viable, for whatever reason that is, we look for long-term solutions to ensure that our residents' interests and needs are protected. St Mary's Garden is an example of this. Despite the challenging financial environment both the council and the BCS are currently operating in, through building effective partnerships based on relationship and trust and recognising the knowledge, experience and expertise of our community partners, we can ensure that this well-loved and valued community asset can provide a vital service for residents going forward and for years to come.
Do you have a supplementary, Councillor Ross?
Yes, I do. It's great to hear that you've partnered with Hackney City Farm, another great space within Haggerston. I heard that you said that there's a 2-year lease with them currently. Could you give some timelines or any other commitments the council have made for beyond those 2 years? Thank you.
Yes, it was really important that we gave Hackney City Farm that 2-year lease, which enables them to work with us as a council, with you as local councillors, with the local community and other community stakeholders to really kind of look at the long-term future for this community asset. Again, you know, we want to be looking at co-production, you know, we want to be looking at how we use this asset to provide vital community service for some of our most vulnerable residents. You know, we know some of our most vulnerable residents, both in your ward and around the borough, come and use this asset, and we want to ensure that stays in place. But of course, you know, that means resource, and that means partnership, and we're very committed to building that partnership going forward, and we look forward to the plans that get put in place. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Walker. The next question is the last question, so we've reached 30 minutes. Councillor Premier, do you still ask your question?
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and it appears to be the Cabinet Member for XXX, which I assume is Councillor Bramble for Children's Services Young People Budget, who's going to answer in her place. Can you provide an update on the status of all recently closed or repurposed school sites in Hackney? Residents, ward councillors and other wider community stakeholders would like to be engaged in shaping future uses that prioritise sustainability, transparency and long-term social and community benefits. Thank you.
That's Chapman.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Councillor Premier, for your question. I'm sorry if I'm disappointed that it's me again in my role as strategic property this time. Like boroughs across inner London, Hackney has seen a rapid decrease in the number of school-aged children and are having to close schools as a result, which is heartbreaking. Both for us, for the pupils and for families, for teachers and school staff and for the wider communities in which they previously played such an important part. We now have a responsibility to not let these buildings sit empty or simply sell them off, but ensure that whatever possible we can do, they remain as important public assets that benefit our communities. While there is work to do to deliver on these plans, we're committed to keeping the communities that are invested in the future of these buildings informed and involved, and starting by encouraging organisations to put forward proposals for the Culverston school site. In summary, the current position with the four initial ex-school sites are Culverston Primary School. The preferred option proposed for the site is for it to be leased to an organisation with a sustainable plan for the facility, experiencing community engagement and offering social value. This could be a single organisation or group, and the local community is particularly encouraged to express their interests with proposals that will provide services, amenities and facilities that are a benefit to the local area and its community. And I understand the application for the invitation for expressions of interest has gone live now. Baden Powell Primary School is proposed to be adapted to become a special school and host extra school places for children with special educational needs and disabilities, giving more children access to support that they need closer to home. Randall Kramer Primary School and Bova Primary School. For these sites, the council is exploring the potential to be converted into temporary accommodation for local people in need of a home, helping alleviate the homelessness crisis and keeping families in the borough. Further to this, it was agreed as part of phase 2, I think back in April at Cabinet, that St Mary's School will also close as 31st of August this year. And I note this is in your ward, Councillor Premru. We have yet to make any decision on the future use of phase 2 schools, but I'd be happy to go away and pick this up with officers and get back to you with for the response. Just to add, in further to this, it was agreed as part of phase 2, following consultation with the schools, the council has prepared a support package to help all of those, be it including parents and staff, directly affected by the closure to support them through the transition. Thank you.
Supplementary.
Perfect, Councillor Chapman. I think you get the prize tonight for keeping to time. Councillor Premier, do you have a supplement?
I do, thanks very much. And I was a bit disturbed by the phrase wherever possible, because it must be every single school that is that's going to be safe for community use. And we would like to know really much more clearly in the week where there are tragically 4 more school closures and there's a lot of heartbreak, how people apply and get involved in this. And also, when does sustainability begin and end? I don't know if you're aware, but teachers who are currently experiencing the school closures are really upset to see their entire classrooms, school equipment, books, some in very good condition, being skipped and destined for landfill. So we would like to know what is happening there, please, as a matter of urgency.
Councillor Premier, that's not a question.
It's a fact, though.
Do you not have a question? No.
What was the question?
Okay, so members must ask questions. This isn't about statements. I know you asked it at the end, but please, everybody, be seated and ask a question. This isn't about statements or grandstanding. It's about questions. It's members' question time.
The Mayor has offered to add some information.
Thank you, Councillor Chapman. Thank you, Councillor Primary. Yeah, absolutely every site will be for community use. I think it's just a different kind of uses will depend on the opportunity within the site, and certainly they will be available to meet some of the really serious needs in our borough. In terms of the school that's open to community expressions of interest, that opportunity is now open on our website. So we'll be able to direct you to that link, and that will be publicised. There's a post on the Hackney News website, the council website right now. And with regard, I think you might be referring to St Dominic's, and that was a miscommunication. So as soon as we were alerted to it, we stopped that clearance, thanks to being advised by a trade union representative. So acted very quickly to stop that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody. I'm now going to call a short adjournment for 5 minutes. So I make it 5 to 9. If you need, please be back for 9 o'clock prompt. Is everyone back? Thank you. Yeah, we're going to start. The 9 o'clock has gone. We won't see 9 o'clock again today. If we can move on to item 12, which we have 15 minutes for, which is the Hackney Independent Socialist Opposition sponsored business. Hackney's poor record on community consultation and engagement. The council has before it an item of business submitted by the Independent Socialist Group. I'll invite Councillor Rout to address the council on the issue raised. We have up to 5 minutes. Members will then have up to 5 minutes to debate the issue. I've received notification in advance that these councillors wish to speak. Councillor Benny Lovett, Councillor Potter and Councillor Delev. I will call them in turn. If time permits, I will call on other members from across the chamber who also may wish to speak. This will follow up by Councillor Kennedy's response. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Consultation and community engagement are essential tools to build a cohesive, thriving borough. Sadly, too many Hackney consultations just pay lip service to the rules. Consultation is only genuine when it is shown to influence decisions. To make it meaningful, consultation must start with a clear explanation about how any data gathered will be used. It must spell out what decisions are being made, how they're made, and at what stages residents will be involved. In Hackney, we know what happens when consultation expectations aren't well managed. Think low traffic neighbourhoods. Residents were understandably outraged when majority opinions were ignored. Too many participants were insulted by wasting their time and feeling blindsided. They felt furious, disillusioned, and sadly resolved not to bother with future consultations. Personally, I favour most LTNs, but they do come with problems like traffic displacement and inconvenience for vulnerable residents or the emergency services. Those issues were flagged in the consultations, but by riding roughshod over them, positions became entrenched and the council lost credibility and still struggles with trust on LTNs. In fact, the public are not stupid, and they realise that in most cases, whether it's closing schools, charging those with savings for social care support, or building new homes on council estates, the decisions have often already been made. You can add to that list raising children's centre fees to unaffordable levels, where campaigners this evening have been denied the chance to speak at this meeting. In all those examples, the moment to propose substantive alternative ideas was long before public views were sought. The most that can be hoped for are some small tweaks. So engagement must start at an early stage to be meaningful. And in a place like Hackney, with so many residents at economic and social disadvantage, engagement must also tackle power imbalances. That means professional planners, architects, consultants and the like should not be dictating terms to ordinary people. Instead, they should value residents' expertise as highly prized because it comes from daily lived experience. Residents' views should be incorporated into the brief. From the outset, the council should work with residents and stakeholders to select the teams of architects or experts who will lead the project. Only by working alongside the professionals, making joint decisions and taking collective responsibility can true community buy-in be assured. And Hackney has expertise in this field to draw on. Local practitioners like Muff in my own ward who are keen to share the engagement models that they've helped develop. And council officers too, who would love more scope to roll up their sleeves on co-design with the public. Of course, that costs money, but that's money well spent for the long-term benefits of genuine community cohesion. And let's use some imagination about funding sources, an upfront percentage fee from developers for engagement on ongoing consultation, perhaps. Or, in the case of the long-running saga of the Morning Lane Tesco site, where the supermarket on council land operates rent-free, why not approach Tesco for a significant sum in lieu of the lost rent to fund a community co-produced solution? And on that subject, why is it that the council is the only body engaging with Tesco behind closed doors? Don't Tesco's customers deserve a seat at the table too? Hackney is in the midst of a consultation credibility crisis. As if losing a judicial review about the children's centres wasn't enough, the Housing Ombudsman followed up with observations about the council refusing to hear residents shouting about poor repairs. To make up that lost ground of credibility, Hackney should immediately set minimum participation targets for consultations. It should establish consultation hot desks in the town hall, the service centre, libraries, and other public spaces like cafes. And it should redesign its online forms to make them more user-friendly. Most importantly, it should engage early and meaningfully. This is a warning to the Labour Party. Under Keir Starmer, with his rigid party discipline, ways for senior politicians to hear from the grassroots are being severed. Councillors and backbench MPs are hung out to dry if they challenge party policy, even when they're trying to tell the story of how the people who elected them are being harmed. Effective channels for ongoing dialogue with the electorate to shape and monitor policies is the only way democracy in the digital era will thrive. We must stop riding roughshod over residents' views in Hackney. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to begin by saying that I appreciate the efforts, but clearly residents do not feel heard. Residents are actually having to do the hard graft often of consultations and community engagement. For example, as we heard, the Morning Lanes People Space and the campaign against children's centres closures. And today, we've had, also the campaigners who forced the council's hand in terms of getting the pension recipients surveyed about what their feelings about their pensions being invested in companies that are facilitating genocide. And of course, we've also got families here today who have had to take time out of their busy schedule, and they've surveyed families and carers at these nurseries. They're doing all of that hard work. And parents offered us, in that instance, very detailed survey data and real case studies before the changes, but the council has failed to act on the public's input. And now the council say it will monitor impact after these eye-watering increases hit families' wallets in September. And I doubt that the council's monitoring will result in a reversal of these changes if families' fears are borne out, as we expect they will. After they, possibly after they leave the borough when it will be too late, how are you going to monitor the impact on them then? It's not a way of making a child-friendly borough.
Councillor Spinelli.
Pardon?
Your minute's up.
I've got a green light. Oh, okay, apologies. In that case, sorry, I was confused by the light, so I'll just wrap up. Residents have been forced to run their own consultations or even fight to speak here today. And we must take these efforts seriously. If we don't co-design changes with residents, the least we can do is listen when they try and help us get it right. Thank you.
When I say a minute's up, I mean a minute's up. It doesn't mean you carry on.
Apologies, I was trying to follow the lights.
Right, I've got Councillor Potter next. Is there anybody else that wants to speak? Councillor Davis. I've got Councillor Lynch. Thank you.
The role that scrutiny has played. Scrutiny takes feedback from residents seriously, and we did have feedback that the consultations, particularly with the low traffic neighbourhoods, were an issue. So at skills economy and growth, we heard that some schemes have been amended where residents had expressed concern that the scheme is not working. Exemptions for blue badge holders, which is not a tweak, were also introduced, helping some of our most vulnerable residents in the community following feedback. Officers talked about lessons learned, about a greater range of engagement tools, the importance of talking to residents and businesses face to face, and seeking feedback from community groups and stakeholders like the Homerton Hospital, bringing all this together with in-depth analysis to ensure they receive the representative sample of voices. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Councillor Herbert-Delors.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Penny. Really powerful truth about consultations in our borough. Those from migrant and historically disadvantaged communities know too well what it feels like to be used for data but denied real power. We're surveyed, we're consulted, we're including photos and reports to tick the boxes of representation in said consultations. But when it comes to real decisions, we are left out, or worse, never invited back. We're told that we're being involved, so the paperwork looks right, but in truth, it's a process that too often feels performative, one that does not reflect the respect, dignity, or seriousness of our voices instead. This has been made painfully clear in the way the consultation on the Council's constitution, for example, has been conducted. What should have been a genuine opportunity for strengthened participation has instead half the time and space available for residents to raise the issues that matter most to them. That's not democracy, it's exclusion in disguise, and it's at the expense of public funds. We are not engaging communities, we are insulting them.
Thumbs up, thank you. You've got 20 seconds, Councillor Davis, if you want to use 20 seconds.
Oh, no, let's try it. Okay. I noted in the Hackney Labour Manifesto in 2022 that you had a commitment to regular and localised citizens' assemblies on climate, which have never really materialised. Citizens' jury and assembly are two different things, which is a shame. We also heard earlier about participatory budgeting from a resident, which would be great to see, in particular where we do have hard prioritisation decisions to make in our financial position. And the last thing is, right.
Good try. Thank you to everybody who took part in the debate. I'm afraid those who haven't wanted to speak, there isn't time. There's no time, Councillor. Yeah, I'm going to call Councillor. Councillor Lynch was trying to come in. So Councillor Kennedy, if you'd like to respond, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Look, I'm responding in my capacity as Cabinet Lead for Comms. In an ideal world, we would consult, engage and co-produce on absolutely everything we did as a council. We don't live in that ideal world. We provide over 500 services to 250,000 residents. It's just not possible to do that all the time. We do have one big, important general consultation every 4 years, local elections, Madam Speaker. The Hackney Independent Socialist Group, who brought this motion, this business tonight, were elected to this chamber as representatives of a different party, remember. When they left Hackney Labour, they did spare us the cost of by-elections, and that is to be applauded, thank you. But we had a general election in this country last year, the perfect opportunity to engage with residents, and at very little extra cost that would have been, had you all resigned then, one extra ballot paper in 2 wards. Surely, Madam Speaker, the self-styled champions of resident engagement would take that chance to see if their voters still wanted to be represented by a HISCA councillor. But no. They didn't take that opportunity to find out what their residents think. But they have taken the opportunity to bring opposition business today and tell us that we do a bad job of finding out what our residents think. Thin ice, Madam Speaker, skating on very thin ice. Nonetheless, the proposals that you put in the paper that you put forward, they do reflect a shared recognition that good engagement is essential for building trust and delivering effective local government. But on trust, you've got it wrong. You imply we've lost the trust of residents. The evidence is otherwise, I'm afraid. The latest residents survey, 2024, 73% of Hackney residents, it's on the council website, go and check it out, trust the council a great deal or a fair amount. That's up from 67%. That's up from 67% in 2022 and well ahead of the national benchmark of 53%. This council and how we talk to residents is 20% more trusted than the average council. Now, we're not complacent about that. We know trust varies. We know it's lower among some groups. We take that seriously. We do listen. Please don't characterise us as not listening on LTNs. You heard what Councillor Potter said. Every single LTN proposal has been altered to some extent by a result of consultation. And you imply that there's a huge, great Labour Party out there, the government's not listening to anyone. On PIP and on winter fuel, we, Hackney Labour, spoke to the government and the government listened. It was Hackney Labour politicians driving that. Over the past year, our comms and consultation team run over 80 consultations, 9,000 participants. The engagement platform received 270,000 visits. We've invested in an updated consultation and engagement toolkit. We've created a cross-council community of practice, every department engaging properly. We've offered staff training on co-production, consultation law, and relational practice. All of that out of our own review into the Children's Centre consultation. We didn't lose the JR. We simply realised that we probably would on a technicality. Go and read the report. That's also on the council website. We do co-production really well. At the moment, we're working to improve the outcomes of Black children and young people. That co-production is co-led with a resident accountability board. The Fairer Help early intervention model is being developed with community partners. And I'm sorry, on Morning Lane, we are talking to residents. We are talking properly to residents. We're engaging them in shaping designs early on. On digital divide, we know there is a digital divide in Hackney. That's why we use paper and we talk to people face to face. We go to libraries, we go to stations, we go to supermarkets, we go to schools to reach our residents where they are and find out what they think. Feedback and transparency, you're absolutely right. This is critical. We should boast more about how we have changed our LTNs as a result of public feedback. We're going to get better at doing that on citizen space. In closing, Chair, I just want to say there was a premise in this business today that we have poor consultation and engagement services. That is not true. We have a hard-working and effective comms and engagement team, and the work they do is good. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kennedy. Right, we now come to item 13 on the agenda, which is the Labour motion Together Against Violence Towards Women and Girls. The council, I understand that council is going to propose by Councillor Ross and seconded by Councillor Tinnaz. Joint amendments have been received from the Green and Hackney Independent Socialist Group, which have not been accepted by the proposer and seconder. Before this motion is considered, can I ask all those making speeches and contributions to the debate to be succinct in their comments? In accordance with the council procedure rule, the total time for these promotions should not exceed 30 minutes. Councillor Ross and Councillor Tinnaz, please raise your right hand to indicate whether you are going to propose and second the motion. Okay, thank you. Councillor Ross, please Councillor Tinnaz, can you confirm whether you wish to speak after Councillor Ross introduces the motion or reserve your right to speak later?
Sorry, Madam Speaker, the traffic lights aren't working, and I think I just want to support members speaking later in the meeting. They're just not working.
Yeah, I understand they're not working, but the monitoring officer is. Thank you. Sorry. Yes. Thank you for okay. Councillor Tinnaz, can you confirm whether you wish to speak after Councillor Ross introduces the motion or reserve your right to speak later?
I wish to speak after.
Yeah. Right. Councillor Ross, you have up to 5 minutes.
Thank you. I rise to move this motion. One woman is killed by a man every 3 days. Black women are disproportionately affected. Domestic abuse offences have nearly doubled in the last decade, and VOG is still underreported. The scale of violence is devastating, including here at home in Hackney. Behind closed doors in every ward and every street, there are women and girls living in fear. Whether in romantic or familial relationships, separated from their abusers, on a night out, or simply going for a walk, the threat of violence and murder remains real. The recent murder of a devoted mother in our borough, Annabel Rook, by her male partner has rocked us all. While we appreciate this is not a regular occurrence in Hackney, it deeply saddens us. May her soul rest in power. Neither will we forget our sisters who have gone before her in similarly murderous ways at the hands of men. Rogue that doesn't end in murder still destroys lives. Sexual violence and assault wrecks women and girls physically and mentally. Psychological abuse and coercive control can be just as devastating as physical harm. Alongside a range of physical health issues caused by violence and abuse, survivors are significantly more likely to experience long-term mental health impacts, with rogue being a leading cause of PTSD amongst women and girls. We are 3 times more likely to attempt suicide. But this is not a women's issue. It is a community issue, a justice issue, a public health emergency. This motion reaffirms our commitment and support for women, girls, and survivors, not just in principle, but in practical, measurable ways. Hackney Council already does amazing work supporting survivors and championing community-based prevention. Hackney's Domestic Abuse Intervention Service supported over 1,300 residents in the past year and received Respect accreditation, while Hackney's housing model received Domestic Abuse Housing Alliance accreditation. Domestic abuse has been reported as one of the highest causes of homelessness amongst women in the UK and a huge barrier to leaving an abusive relationship. Hackney's innovations, including launching the UK's first domestic abuse protocol with social landlords, are crucial for survivors and their children. These aren't afterthoughts, they're part of a zero-tolerance commitment to gendered violence. I'm proud of the leadership shown across housing, safeguarding and public health in this space. Labour has pledged to halve rogue in a decade, and this motion supports that aim by ensuring rogue remains a priority. We want women and girls to feel safe day or night, online or in person, in public spaces and in their own homes. Comrades, we're not starting from zero, far from it, but we still have work to do. Rogue in Hackney demands culturally sensitive interventions with a deep understanding of the intersectional and generational nuances at play. In the face of rising need, chronic underfunding, the lasting impact of Tory austerity, and a surge in toxic masculinity, misogyny and misogyny, we must be relentless in our effort to eliminate rogue in all its forms. We have to make the streets of Hackney streets of safety. To do this is vital our survivor-led whole system approach runs through all our services and that we tackle the root causes of rogue, start with our children and young people through education, urging all schools and colleges to embed a zero-tolerance approach. It's also crucial that we continue to champion our specialist bar-enforced services and work in partnership with our voluntary and community sector, whom continue to fill the gaps with compassion, expertise and trust, supporting Black and global majority women, LGBTQ people, disabled survivors and others that are often too often overlooked. From Sisters Space to Claudia Jones Organisation and Latin American Women's Aid, Hackney's women's sector has always been rich, strong and truly reflective of Hackney's diverse communities. So tonight, let's speak with one voice and stand together with women and girls, with survivors, with specialist services and with each other in saying, every woman, every girl, we believe you, we stand with you, and we will not stop until we are safe. I commend this motion to Council.
Thank you, everybody. Councillor Tinners, you have 3 minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I stand to second this motion with pride and urgency. Violence against women and girls is not just a national crisis, it's happening here in Hackney, and as Councillor Ross has mentioned, it's happening often behind closed doors. Let's be clear, this issue touches all of us, whether it's a close family member or a close friend. Every single one of us within this chamber has a connection to this crisis. This motion isn't just about statistics, it's about real people. It's about the woman walking home in Hackney Central who doesn't feel safe, the teenage girl in Dalston who's told that her voice doesn't matter, the woman suffering in silence because they're too afraid or too unsupported to ask for help, but yet Hackney isn't standing still. We are proud to be the only borough with the intergenerational domestic abuse protocol, as mentioned by Councillor Rose. We are the only council whose risk assessment includes anti-racist, LGBTQ+, and disability inclusive practice. Our Hackney Nights campaign is setting new standards for safety in the nighttime economy, but we know there's more to be done. This motion calls on us to review how we commission services to protect and strengthen by and for organisations, and to work directly with survivors to shape our next strategy. It calls for proper education in every school on healthy relationships and consent. This is about action, real action, and lasting changes. I second this motion, not just as a councillor, but as a father of 2 daughters and as a member of this community. So let's make Hackney a borough that leads with compassion, courage, and purpose. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Tinnes, for seconding the motion. I now come to the amendments. They are going to be proposed by Councillor Garbutt and seconded by Councillor Turbot-Delow. Garbutt, can you raise your right hand to say that you wish to speak? Thank you. Sorry? Yeah. And Councillor Turbot-Delow, you're going to second. Okay. Councillor Turbot-Delow, sorry. Do you wish to speak after Councillor Garbutt, or do you want to? You do. Okay. So Councillor Garbutt, you have 5 minutes. Councillor Turbot-Delow, you have 3. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd really like to welcome this motion put forward by Councillor Ross and Councillor Tinnes, and just recognise all of our deep concern about this, as you say, public health crisis, and also the disproportionate impact on Black women, as well as the amazing organisations that exist in Hackney. Our amendment just spoke to add some elements. You know, obviously we don't change the core of the motion. It was just adding to things that we thought would strengthen some of the framing. So we explicitly wanted to mention misogyny, you know, the hatred of women, and the fact that misogyny is a driver of male dominance and male violence, and seeing women as lesser. So we wanted an explicit mention of misogyny. We also wanted to acknowledge the structural issues that impact women disproportionately around their welfare, their wellness, and their sustainability, especially around disproportionate impacts around the welfare system, financial strain, and experiences of homelessness. We also, in recognising what you've just said about violence against women and girls going underreported, which is a huge concern, we wanted the failings within the Metropolitan Police to be recognised within the motion, because they have been recognised as being institutionally misogynistic. It was accepted by the Mayor of London from the Baroness Casey review a couple of years ago. So we need to see that institution addressing its misogyny at its core, the way it treats its female officers, the way that it treats women on the streets, because the harm is perpetuated by the police and then causes women to be unable to report and it go underreported. This was also recognised in the Angelini review that was reported the next year around the dire failings of the Metropolitan Police into not being and the feelings of women that they don't properly look into things like indecent exposure. So talking to many women about how the fact that they just stopped reporting things, and we know that indecent exposure is a likely indicator of further violence. So they cannot be absent. You know, we've got a huge responsibility within this council to hold the police to account, and I think them missing from this motion is a big gap. We also wanted to add to the resolves, which included, just to make them a lot bolder and clearer, and just really kind of pack a punch to the end of the motion, because I think it holds really good information, but I think the resolves make it quite weak. So we just wanted to change words like work towards preventing to campaign against, and we wanted healthy relationship education to be put into law. We wanted to continue to support, and we added a whole extra resolve at the bottom, which was to continue to support initiatives for men who have used abuse against women, especially intimate partners, and are willing to to make sure that they can address their behaviours. I'm going to leave some of the other elements around migrant women and intersectionality to Councillor Turbot-Deloff, some of which I know you've picked up in your introduction, but those are elements that we were also adding. I just wanted to take this opportunity to just reflect on an announcement that was made by the government within the last week. We do hear that violence against women and girls is prioritised, but when it comes to funding, it feels like that's extremely lacking. The Labour Minister made an announcement of 53 million over a 4-year period, which I think is absolute pittance and shocking. It was called landmark, but I don't think anyone feels that 53 million nationally over 4 years is landmark. Divided evenly, that's about 400k per tier 1 authority in England and Wales, so about 100k a year, so about a month for about half a worker and a few posters, I worked out. So I think that's shocking, and I think the Labour government has made a commitment to halve violence against women and girls within a decade, so obviously we've lost a year, so that's 9 years from now, and I just don't know how you're going to do that with 53 million over for the next 4 years. So I think that's incredibly worrying, and I know that came in after this motion, but if we can do anything to raise the alarm that that's not going to be anywhere near enough for Hackney Council, then I think we need to use this opportunity.
Councillor Gilbert, sorry to interrupt you, but I've been informed what you're saying isn't a part of your amendment.
Okay, I'll just wrap up then. So the motion is titled Together Against Violence Against Women and Girls, and we did bring these motion amendments in good faith, and we do want to be included in that together. So the together felt like it was excluding some of our contributions, but we do wholeheartedly share your ambition, and we'll vote for the motion unamended. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Turbot-Deloff, could you stick to the amendment, please, rather than make a statement?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Can I ask how long do I have? How long? How long? For how? Oh, 3 minutes. I'm just gonna count my time. Thank you. That's all right. It's just because I'm also partially blind and I find it difficult, so it's a bit tricky. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Councillor Ross. Really, as a survivor myself of violence against women and girls, an advocate and now therapist for supporting women fleeing abuse, I'm very proud to support this motion. But also the amendment that we have put forward is about areas that we feel, and as a migrant woman, I feel very strongly is missing in the motion that I'm sure that all members in the room will want to, in the chamber will want to see complete. No vogue strategy is complete if it excludes migrant women with no recourse to public funds. It is true that Hackney is the only local authority in the UK to have created a domestic abuse risk assessment that contains prompts for practitioners to incorporate into the assessment considerations of anti-racist practice, and this is something that makes us really proud. However, it doesn't explicitly say that it supports women with no recourse to public funds. The Domestic Abuse Act 2021 recognizes migrant women as victims, but it fails to protect those with no recourse to public funds. Now, these women often face the impossible choice between staying with their abuser or facing homelessness and destitution. They're some of the most at risk, yet they're denied access to the safe housing, refuge, and basic support, simply because of the immigration status. I'm not going to take too long, but I wanted to add that I'm delighted to hear of the recognition of the projects that you mentioned, Councillor Ross, especially for Claudia Jones' project and the Latin American Women's Aid Hour, whom I know and have huge appreciation myself. They are the first and only Latin American women organization offering refuge for women fleeing abuse, and I'm really, really pleased that in this chamber we offer recognition for the incredible work. Now, to conclude, I want to say to all members that if we're serious about ending domestic violence for all women and girls, we must confront this injustice head on. We fight for protections that include every woman, regardless of background and paperwork. Hackney must lead by example and ensure that no woman is left behind, and this must include women, migrant women with no access to public, recourse to public funds. Thank you.
The members wish to debate the amendments or move directly to the vote on these amendments.
Thank you very much. Yes, I would just like to add on these amendments that I've noted that...
Sorry,
Pardon?
we're moving to the vote?
Oh, no, I thought you wanted to debate it.
No. We're not debating the amendments, if I understand it. Yeah, we're moving to the vote on the amendments. And I now put the amendments to the vote. Unless any member has an objection, I intend to deal with the proposed amendments en masse. Those in favour of the amendments? Okay, thank you. Those against the amendments? Those any abstentions? Abstentions? I declare that the amendments are not carried. We'll then move on to the substantive debate. I have been notified that I've got Councillor Charlton, Councillor Gordon, Councillor Suso-Range, Councillor Potter, Councillor. We're talking about. I'm sorry you're upset, but we're about to debate the motion. Let someone go out and comfort her. Thank you. Sorry, I now repeat, sorry, I have been notified that I have got Councillors Troughton, Gordon, Sadat, Potter, Ajario, Ete, and Martins, and I've seen Councillor Shearer and Councillor Billy Lubbock. And I think that's it.
Madam Speaker, nearly 5 decades have passed since I fled to one of the first women's aid refuges in the country with my 2-year-old daughter. I was glad to be safe, but it wasn't a happy place, and I still had to look over my shoulder every time I went out. I could only rebuild my life by leaving the area, and with it the friends who'd supported me. It would be disingenuous to say there's been no change since then. Anti-discrimination law, mostly enacted by Labour governments, means that if we can grasp opportunities, we have a right of redress if those rights are denied. I'm heartened too that our government has committed to continue this work. But does it mean that there has been radical change towards women? No. The backlash is simply more insidious and easier to miss than in the past. And there are new harms online and in the increasingly harmful portrayals of women in pornography that display women as passive or even willing recipients of male violence. We know this because the murder of women and girls continues at an unabated rate. Kasuma Akhtar, despite taking refuge, was not safe from her violent and controlling partner. Lives ruined because a woman dared to say no to her killer's egoistic demands. Femicide is the sharp end of the misogyny that still blights women's lives globally, be it Afghan women banned by force from speaking in public, or women here silenced and dismissed for voicing our views, or lesbians whose existence is erased by regressive ideology. While the work done by this council supporting victims of sex-based violence is commendable, the causes of male violence will not have changed until women can speak freely without fear of male aggression, till images of women portray us as unassailable, until men's discomfort at hearing our voices is owned by them. Till then, our rights and our safety are under threat in ways that are both obvious and subversive, and our struggle to hold on to our rights will continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Troughton. Now my members speaking, they have got a minute. I've got Councillor Gordon next.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Sorry.
The Lionesses are the UK's most successful national sports team.
Last night, Hackney reverberated with cheers following the team's Euro semi-final victory against Italy. However, this brilliant team of women, led by an equally brilliant woman manager, does not have equality with their male counterparts. Not only are they not paid the same, but Michelle Adjournment, Chloe Kelly and other stars decided to celebrate their achievements in the bars of Hackney, and I hope they do. Like all women, they would need to plan their night out to ensure their safety. They would need to make sure that somebody knows where they were and have a plan to get home. Despite innovative measures taken by the council's licensing team working with responsible licence holders, women do not have equal access to safe and enjoyable nights out in the borough and cannot walk around even in daylight with freedom. England's stars, like all women, are subjected to humiliating and degrading behaviour, seeking to objectify them. There's not a woman in this chamber who has not experienced this so-called low-level harassment like catcalling or even more serious behaviour like upskirting. My daughter has told me she experienced catcalling unsanctioned at school when she was growing up. No woman in Hackney or elsewhere should be subject to behaviour that objectifies and humiliates them. Sexual harassment is a form of violence that creates a climate of fear and intimidation that normalises harmful behaviour and creates conditions for even more serious violence. We must not tolerate it. Councillor Stack.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I fully support this motion and commend the work that the council. Sorry, start again. Yeah, I fully welcome this motion and commend the work the council's already doing to tackle violence against women and girls and to provide vital services to support victims across our borough. But as Councillor Charlton has already rightfully said, the only way to eliminate violence against women and girls is to address the root cause of the problem. And at the heart of this issue are misogyny and masculinity. That is, the attitudes men commonly hold and the way we behave, and a society which so often excuses these attitudes and behaviours. So I'm really glad to see a resolution in this motion about educating young people about healthy relationships. And I ask that the council invest as much time and resource as possible into supporting any initiatives that educate people on respect, consent and equality in the context of gender. And just on this note, I want to finish with a short poem from Scottish author Len Penny, who herself was a victim of domestic violence at the hands of a man. It's called Boys Will Be Boys. Boys will be boys who will be men soon enough. And if all that we teach them is how to be tough, they will learn the misguided, ubiquitous notion: anger is anything but an emotion. We must teach them strength in their vulnerability, show them that a kind heart doesn't evoke fragility. We must let our boys cry, let them vent, let them sing, let them sob and emote and feel every wee thing that a human should know they can feel and express. Remove all the rules on how they ought to dress. Let them set their own boundaries, be hurt and forgive. Let them see that toxicity is no way to live. Boys will be boys who will one day be men, and with respect and boundaries, hopefully then, they'll see no as a sentence that is full and complete, and not as a challenge that is there to be beat. Teach them to care. Teach them to care for both themselves and others. Create standards to which they can hold their brothers. Love them without apology, fearless and loud, so our boys will be boys that will make us all proud. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dow. I'm going to call on Councillor Suso Raj.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm so sorry to see a sister in distress, and I wish she could hear what I have to say. I would remind her that last year, in this council, we had 16 days of activism, and we specifically had a joint event with Latin American Women's Aid. And we had a live stream event on the critical importance of culturally tutored services and referral pathways. And we continue working in partnership with Black and Global Majority Violence Against Women and Girls agencies. I hope that Councillor Turbot-Deloff can hear me when I say to her, this is my story too, And when violence crept out of the shadows and came for me, I would have been really grateful for 16 days of activism and all the things that the council does online, like our translated intervention service leaflets, our safety planning, contact details, our MARAC protocol, and our young people's gender screening programs. We have a foundation and a motion worthy of all our votes. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor. Yeah, Councillor Adams.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just want to extend the meeting for 10 minutes till 10 past.
Is there a seconded? Thank you. Agreed? Is that agreed? Agreed. Okay. Thank you very much. I've now got Councillor Potter.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Some of what I was going to say has been said. To be very, very short. I'm just saying violence against women and girls, including street-based harassment, is an issue to many women and girls and their families in Brownswood Ward and the Finsbury Park area. I would like to thank the council for a lot of the work that they do, working across borough boundaries with faith and local community groups, as well as the police. However, as this motion has highlighted, there's so much more to do, and I welcome the opportunity it brings to refocus our efforts, particularly to address the root causes, and ultimately to create safer environments for women and girls in all of our communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Adjournment. Speak.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Thank you very much. Sorry. I'd like to thank Councillor Ross and Councillor Tinez for bringing this motion to council. I think it's both so sobering and horrific to consider that despite most crimes still remaining unreported, 25% of women, that's around 5.1 million of us, report having experienced some form of abuse before the age of 16. For those of us that are survivors, most remain hidden whilst continuing to bear the pernicious physical and mental scars of trauma. The impact is both profound and long-lasting and often carried across generations. This is indeed a national emergency and one which requires an emergency response. And as the government's highlighted, political and social and institutional responses to VAUG must continue to evolve and coalesce as the nature of offences evolve. In terms of the perpetrators, despite what the current media would have us believe, there is no one type of man or boy that carries out these crimes. There is no one culture in which these offences are allowed to permeate. Rather, they are a universal symptom of a society which remains patriarchal and increasingly misogynistic. Ensuring we get to a place where no child, girl, or woman is left to experience brutalization, mental trauma, or even death is our collective responsibility. And with this does come education. This motion puts forward tangible proposals in furtherance of this and ensuring we have the services we need as our ongoing response continues to develop. It must always take in the diversity of survivors so that despite the wider disparities for Black and minoritized communities, any woman or girl of any background is able to access its services in alignment with their individualized needs. Along with the ongoing work undertaken by our cabinet leads, I'm pleased to say that Living in Hackney will also be looking at VAUG and the partnership response across the authority. Once again, this is on us all, and it's on us all to be upstanding. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, everybody. I'm sorry to disappoint. I've been informed that our time is up. I apologise to members who I said I would call. I'm going to ask the cabinet member to sum up, and then we'll go to a vote.
Thanks very much, Madam Speaker, and can I just say thank you to all the contribution to this motion and to Councillor Ross and Councillor Tinez for proposing and seconding this. Madam Speaker, I'll create your indulgence, just want to respond to a few things that have been said.
I totally agree that we need to work together to tackle violence against women and girls. Having said that, I'm very, very proud of our record as a leading council tackling violence against women and girls in the UK. Some of my colleagues have mentioned some of the work we have done that made us the #1 in this country, including the first public realm consultation on women's safety in 2022-2023, being the first borough to have the DASA accreditation in the country, and all the other work we have done. But just to put things in context, and I'm sorry, Councillor Tobedolo was upset before she left. In Hackney, we have 2 boards. In terms of tackling violence against women and girls, we have the strategic board and we have the operational board. The operational board, we have over 30 community organizations there. Majority of those organizations are organizations that support migrant, refugees, people from Black and global majority. In Hackney, we repurpose the MOPAC funding for us in Hackney and commission Emerge, one of the local organizations that we work with in Hackney that's specifically supporting Black and global majority women that might be survivor and victim of violence against women. In terms of what you were saying, of course, our domestic abuse intervention service, sorry, Madam Speaker, while there's no barrier, let me make that clear, for women to access our domestic abuse and intervention service. But there are barriers when it comes to accessing refugees.
Sorry, Councillor,
due to the benefit purpose. And in terms of intersectionality, I'm so sorry, Madam Speaker, we are aware of this, and we have been working the leadership of Councillor Williams under equality.
Your time is up.
Under equality, I'll finish here, Madam Speaker. Okay, thanks very much, Madam Speaker, but just want to make those points that people have made to respond in terms of what we are doing. Proud of the work we've done with LGBTQ plus community aspect. Thank you.
I'm trying to keep the time, and I'm trying to make sure everyone gets their item dealt with. I know everyone's passionate about their item. Can I do item 14, at which we have 7 minutes for, and I'll ask Mayor Woodley to introduce the report. You have up to 5 minutes. Sorry, I forgot I rushed we haven't done the motion, terribly sorry. I'm just trying to get through everything. Sorry. I just take the motion. Those in favour? Those in favour? I think that's unanimous. Right. I think that's unanimous. Thank you very much. I'm terribly sorry, members. There wasn't any extension, no one did go right. Item 14, 7 minutes. Mayor has 5 minutes. I've got Councillor Suso Ronald to speak, and I did have Councillor Turbot Delow, but she's left the meeting, so I'll call Councillor Stephen.
Madam Speaker, I'll try and take less time out. I'm aware you have other items to get through. In my earlier statement, I set out how Hackney's strategic plan continues to guide us through the major challenges we face, particularly around housing, inequality and climate. And I want to thank colleagues across the chamber for your continued support in delivering that work. We're continuing work on our commitment to deliver 1,000 new social rent homes with 956 underway that will set a benchmark for quality and community in social housing. We're now consulting on a new landlord licensing scheme to ensure that landlords meet their responsibilities and tenants have safe and secure homes to live in. And we've introduced our new supporting residents with additional needs to thrive policy as part of our mission of housing improvement. We continue to fight against poverty. Over 90,000 of Hackney's residents have received vital support through the Household Support Fund, with help ranging from food packages and energy payments to tailored advice and emergency cash assistance. We've invested over 2 million of this fund specifically into food support. No family in Hackney should go hungry. Hackney has continued its journey toward becoming a borough of sanctuary, and more than 400 refugees, migrants and asylum seekers have been supported through our Welcome Hub to ensure they get the best possible start to their lives in the UK. And our new children and family hubs are now delivering coordinated early help, providing wraparound support for families facing financial hardship, housing security and complex needs. Hackney continues to lead the way in climate action. We've completed protected cycle lanes along the full length of Lee Bridge Road, making it safer and easier to walk and cycle. We offer all primary school children cycle training, and in February, the council has successfully delivered cycle training to 1,300 children and 331 adults and counting. We've launched cheaper, greener energy tariffs for council tenants and expanded our renewable energy programmes. The Hackney Light and Power solar pilot is already benefiting 45 estate blocks. And the Hackney Green Jobs and Skills Action Plan is ensuring that our residents are benefiting from our climate action. The new Green Skills Hub at the Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park Centre, launched in March, is offering specialist training in insulation and retrofit techniques to 180 residents, with a goal of securing 130 green jobs over 2 years. And we're serious about our green spaces. This month, 33 Hackney parks and green spaces were awarded green flag status, a national recognition of quality in care, and this places us joint first in London, tied with Westminster. The annual update also tells a wider story, one of resilience and progress across all the services that make this borough a place that our people are proud to call home. I'll stop there just as in the interest of time. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Councillor Swiss-Orange.
Apologies. Thank you, Madam Speaker. The plan sets out the challenges as well as the positive impacts. The annual update provides an overview of the progress made and clarifies the scale of ongoing challenges. The resident survey feedback is helping to shape our organisational planning and performance approach. Community is at the heart of this Labour administration, and we are changing together and securing our future together. We welcomed the LGA Corporate Peer Review Challenge in 2024, and this was a sign of a mature administration. Going forward, we have the Equality Plan 2026, the upcoming People Strategy 2025-2026, and the Wellbeing Strategy 2024-2026. This shows that this Labour administration has a structured and unified approach to workforce development and community engagement, and it is to be commended. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Councillor Alistair Benillard.
Thank you very much. There is a lot to commend in this strategy, but I'd just like to point out one thing. As you mentioned around the solar pilot that's around. So obviously we've declared a climate emergency over 6 years ago, but yet the solar panel scheme for estate residents is still a pilot scheme, and we're a bit concerned about the lack of pace. So we would like to see these things brought along faster, because there is a risk that we will not meet our climate goals. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can we note the report? Noted, thank you very much. Item 15, we have 5 minutes. I'd like to invite the Chair of Audit Committee to introduce the report. Councillor Lynch, you have 3 minutes. Could you speak into the mic? I know you can't stand. You don't have to stand. I know you've got a bad leg.
Madam Speaker. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'll try to be quick because I'm mindful of the time. So firstly, I'd just like to apologise to members for the errors that occurred today. So you haven't had as much time as what we would have wanted to have read the report, but hopefully you have. So being appointed as the Chair of Audit Committee remains a privilege and a responsibility that I take extremely seriously. The members are also collectively aware of the importance of the Audit Committee's independence so that we're able to effectively uphold the Council standards around good governance, control, risk management and financial reporting. The Audit Committee reflects the SIPFA recommendation that there is clear delineation between audit and scrutiny functions, even though these can be complementary processes and we will always work constructively. The use of Council reserves is something the Audit Committee will continue to keep under careful review, and we will be monitoring the expected outcome of the transformation programme to ensure that we remain financially resilient. When the LGA peer review visited last September, it was unfortunately disappointing given the committee's independence, commitment to best practice and span of interest that we were not invited to take part, despite other councils ensuring that their audit committees are included in peer reviews. However, I'm incredibly pleased that this year, following a rigorous recruitment process, the Audit Committee welcomes 2 new independent members, Anthony Marsh and Mariam Doyen-Salou. This additional level of independent scrutiny is much welcomed and ensures we continue to reflect the highest standards for audit committees as set out by SIPFA. I wish to extend a warm welcome to our new Section 151 Officer Naeem Ahmed and look forward to carrying on working with him as the next municipal year. I know that Naeem will continue the excellent work that was delivered previously by our late Jackie, not late, recently departed Jackie Moylan, who provided exceptional support to the Audit Committee for 2 years. I am pleased that a core of officers, including Deirdre Worrell and Michael Sheffield, will continue to support the Audit Committee, and I really want to give thanks to both Deirdre and Michael's teams for their support to me. I'd also like to thank the previous Audit Committee Vice Chair, Councillor Ian Rathbone, and I welcome the new Vice Chair, Councillor Ben Lucas. And finally, my thanks to Councillor Rob Chapman, Cabinet Lead, for resources, and to all the members of the Audit Committee, which includes representation from across the political parties in Hackney, and support me to be an effective and fair Chair of Audit. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Lynch. I've been notified that Councillor Premier and Councillor Lucas wish to speak. I'll call Councillor Premier.
Thanks very much, and thanks for the good work of the Audit Committee. I did want to ask, with regards to risk, how we might fare in terms of international law and breaching that, whereby the Pensions Committee is still really dragging its heels on divestment in the case of an international genocide. Now, I know there's been legal advice from lawyers currently, but those lawyers are very Israel friendly. We know that the Home Secretary has been asked about this, but we know that he is also very Israel friendly and has been very slow to move on this situation, where now the Daily Express is saying, stop this horror. And we need to free Palestine, and we need to feed Palestine. So can we look at the risk of continuing to fund arms sales to kill children in a genocide in Israel? Thank you. As part of the scrutiny. Thank you.
Sorry, is this a point of order, Councillor Sizer?
Yes, I'd like clarification on what. Sorry, I'd like clarification on what Israel friendly means.
It's not point of order. Right, I've got Councillor Lucas and then Councillor Chapman.
Sorry, Chair, do you
Unless
want
it's
to
a point
answer
of order.
Councillor Premier's question first?
So I can't know. I've got Councillor Lucas. We're running out of time. You won't have time to say anything, so.
Okay, thanks very much, Madam Speaker. Just really to quickly reiterate what my erstwhile friend and Chair of Audit Committee, Councillor Lynch, was saying around really welcoming this report. I think we oversee critical, perhaps doesn't always get the spotlight that it deserves on Audit Committee, but really proud of the work that we do. And I think it speaks to the strong relationship that we've built over time with the audit partners, with officers and others throughout the sort of the sort of supply chain, if you like. We achieved another qualified opinion, which I think is testament to a sort of prudent, open, accessible, financially, sensible approach the council's taking on its finances. And again, just to welcome the sort of 2 new independent members, Anthony and Mariam, who are already having a big impact, and also to pay tribute to Mark Agnew, who has leaving us or has left us already, and just to thank him for his role in the committee, which is great. Thank you. Commend this report to the council.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just in 30 seconds, I wanted to obviously thank all the members of the Audit Committee for the really important work they do, led by Councillor Lynch, and that all the members participated in it. But the point I really wanted to emphasise is that the Audit Committee and the report it makes to us is a really important part of our assurance framework. It'll be relied upon by observers looking at our accounts, and wanted to make sure that the council is financially stable and is treating its finances seriously. And yeah, it's really important that when we look at this body and take not only the Audit Committee's responsibilities in relation to it seriously, but also our own. Thank you.
We've got 4 minutes, so perhaps 2 minutes for the cabinet member and 2 minutes. Can we note the report? Sorry, we've got 4 minutes, so perhaps 2 minutes for the cabinet member and 2 minutes for chair licensing.
Sorry. Thanks, Madam Speaker. I'll be very brief before I would like to invite the Chair of Licensing to say a few words as well. This report before you highlighted the activities of the licensing service between 2023 and 2025, and covers 3 main areas of the function of the licensing service. The Licensing Act 2003, which deals with regulatory of alcohol sales as well as policy development. The second set is licensing of treatment, massage and special treatment, tattoo, massage, nail bars and others. And the last bit of this report talks around Gambling Act 2005, which covers activities such as betting, bingo, adult and gaming. I hope colleagues have read this report. But before I invite the Chair of Licensing, just want to say thank you to everyone, colleagues on the Licensing Committee, for your commitment. It is a huge commitment, and I'm very grateful for your work.
Councillor Smith, we've got 1 minute.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I would like to thank Councillor Christina Thomas, the Deputy Chair of the Licensing Committee, licensing officers and licensing and hard work over the past 2 years. Looking at our performance, Madam Speaker, I'm pleased to see that Hackney is witnessing a genuine recovery in our local economy with the highest economic growth in London. Premises licence applications have been consistently rising for 3 consecutive years, a clear sign that businesses are confident about investing in our area again. In Time Out's Ultimate Guide to London's Best Bars published yesterday, Hackney Bar Equal Parts on Hackney Road holds the #1 spot, and we have 4 bars in the top 10 and 16 bars in the top 50. We also have 3 audio-inclusive venues, making live music more accessible for neurodivergent, hard of hearing and noise-sensitive individuals. Madam Speaker, what particularly impresses me is how we've maintained service quality while managing this increased demand. Our temporary event notices are climbing back toward pre-pandemic levels, showing our community is once again hosting events and celebrations. I want to especially acknowledge the hard work on our major projects. The revised statement of licensing policy is now in effect. We have published a new SPA in Shoreditch. Our Hackney Night strategy has launched, and we've successfully implemented online 10 submissions, reducing bureaucracy for businesses whilst improving our efficiency. The licensing team's commitment to risk-based restrictions and enforcement ensures we're supporting legitimate businesses whilst maintaining public safety and getting a good balance between businesses and residents' aspirations. The fact that our review applications have returned to normal levels suggests we're getting the balance right. Madam Speaker, as we move into 25-26 with our new Salesforce system, we're well positioned to serve our community even more effectively. Thank you to everyone involved. You know who you are for making this progress possible. I commend this annual report to the Chamber and ask it be noted. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Right, thank you very much, everybody. Can we note the report? Thank you. I now close the meeting. I'd like to thank everyone for their participation. I'd like to thank the people in the gallery for watching, and I'd like to invite everybody to the parlour for some refreshments. Before we depart, sorry, I'd like to say a very special thank you. Sorry, just 2 minutes. I'd just like to say a very special thank you to Eric Botang, who's been the mace bearer since 2022. Eric has steadfastly supported the speakers with dedication, dignity and diligence in the mace bearing role of full council meetings, as well as other events such as the annual Mayor's Association Civic Service at Westminster Abbey and the council civic events, including the annual remembrance services and parades, and also at the passing of our late Queen Elizabeth and the proclamation of the new sovereign. Thank you very much, Eric. You'll be sadly missed. Thank you very much indeed.
If you're able, please be upstanding and Speaker of the London Borough Council.